Yes, you can go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So with your permission,
Your principal has joined.
sir is not well actually. He's been hospitalized, sir.
Why?
COVID, he
Okay.
had been attacked with COVID, sir.
Oh my God. Okay. Mm.
Okay, sir. So the presentation has been recorded for the purpose of uploading for ACT, sir.
Mhm.
Okay, sir. A warm welcoming and good morning to one and all. My sincere pranam to Holiness Swamiji, the Chancellor of SSSTU. I would like to seek his blessings for the successful completion of this FDP. I, Dr. C.K. Rupa, Assistant Professor, Department of ISC, am glad and privileged and honored to coordinate this program. On behalf of myself and Department of Information Science and Engineering, I welcome our beloved mentor, advisor, and role model to many of us, Professor P. Nagabhsuan, sir, Director IIITA. To this. We would look forward to him to guide us, address us, and display his knowledge in this 5-day FDP. We have our beloved HOD, Department of ISC, Professor. I welcome him, sir. I personally, and on behalf of my department colleague, welcome you for this FDP. And my very special thanks to my professor, guide, mentor, Dr. B.S. Harish. He has always been a tremendous support, guiding force, encouragement for all the activities. And we have your request, HSN sir, Deepak sir. We welcome you also, sir.
Thank you.
I welcome you for this work. Due to various prior commitment, present COVID pandemic situation, our beloved VC sir, register and principal, and other well-wishers couldn't join the program. They have extended their moral support and wish the program a grand success. I would like to thank them wholeheartedly for their support. I take this opportunity to welcome all the delegates of this program. I would like to thank ASIT to sponsor this FDP program. Computer vision and this program plays an important role in many real-world applications such as image classification, face identification, film editing, music therapy, and building information literacy. Representing this high-dimensional data in a compact and meaningful way is one of the most challenging problems. This FTP will focus on presenting various computer vision and pattern recognition methods under the mainstream learning framework to discover the concise and effective representation of multimedia data. I hope this program is going to enrich our knowledge and help us in future research and professional activities. Now I request our head Department of ISC, Dr. B.S. Vinod sir, to address the gathering. Vinod sir, over to you. Sir is facing some technical problem. On his behalf, I request my mentor, B.S. Harish sir, to have a few words on this FDP. Over Harish sir.
There is some problem with the audio, madam. Please, could you correct it?
Audio is not a problem, sir.
Yeah. There is some problem, some echo, right? Please check out whether any other audio is
okay.
interfering with.
Very good morning, PM sir, for kindly accepting our invitation and to be today's chief guest for this inauguration program for this 5-day program on computer vision and pattern recognition. I wholeheartedly, on behalf of SJCE and the Department of Information Science and Engineering, I wholeheartedly welcome you, sir. As Dr. Rupa rightly said, you are our role model because we won't do any kind of an activity with the tremendous support that you give to us, and the big guidance that whatever you give to do the best is really guiding us to move ahead. I thank you wholeheartedly, sir, for accepting our invitation and to be the part of this Friday event on computer vision and pattern recognition. So also I extend warm welcome to HSN sir and Dr. Deepak sir and our beloved HOD Dr. DS Vinod. Unfortunately, some of the senior officials or Vice Chancellor, Registrar and Principal couldn't make to this, as Dr. Rupa mentioned, due to some unavoidable circumstances. So on behalf of Department of Information Science and Engineering, I also welcome them. I really congratulate Dr. C.K. Rupa for getting this acceptance of this 5-day ATL sponsored FDP program on computer vision and pattern recognition challenges and opportunities, where she has contacted many of the very well-known researchers in the field of computer vision and pattern recognition, and they'll be deliberating for all these 5 days. So in the Department of Information Science, we do a lot of activities like this, especially on the area of image processing, pattern recognition, and the computer vision, with all the great support from the very well-known researchers across the country and across the globe. So I wholeheartedly, on behalf of the Department of Information Science, I wholeheartedly congratulate Dr. C.K. Rupa, and also for the participants. I think it will be a very fruitful FDP program, because the way that she has arranged the schedule for these 5 days are really very good structure that it has followed. Hopefully, you will take all the inputs from the different resource person, and kindly be connected to our department, because there are so many workshops as such pipeline, so which will be helpful for the most of the teachers who are doing their PhD work and guiding the PhD scholars, and also for the young research scholars who are doing the research in the field of pattern recognition and the computer vision. So on behalf of the Department of Information Science, so I take this opportunity to welcome one and all. Thank you, Dr. Rupa, for giving me this opportunity to talk about our department. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. Is the audio clear now?
Yes, madam.
Is the audio clear now?
Yes, madam. Fine.
Thank you, sir. This was not possible if Hari sir was not there, actually. So I thank wholeheartedly Hari sir for all the support he has rendered to me. Now I request our beloved Professor P. Nagabhsuan sir, Director IIIT Allahabad, to give an inaugural speech. Sir.
Good morning to all of you. Am I audible, Dr. H.S. Nagendraswamy?
Yes, sir. Very clear, sir.
Dr. Rupa, clear?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Fine, sir.
Okay. Good morning, and Dr. Rupa, Dr. Harish, Dr. Nagendraswamy, and all dignitaries of JSS institutions, particularly SJ College of Engineering, Mysore, in absentia. Good morning to all of you. I'm very happy to be associated with the inauguration of this particular FDP, Faculty Development Program on Computer Vision and Pattern Recognition, Challenges and Opportunities. In fact, for the benefit of others, others should understand that Mysore is probably a very, very strong city in the area of pattern recognition, image processing, and computer vision. Ever since Professor Chidanand Gowda was at SJ College of Engineering as head of the Department of Computer Science, a strong team has been built up. A strong basis has been laid down for the study of pattern recognition. Particularly the Department of Studies in Computer Science, University of Mysore, theme area of that department itself is pattern recognition, image processing, vision, computer vision, object recognition, symbolic data analysis, etc. When I went through the content, I was wondering whether the content contains the entire theme area of University of Mysore, or whether it contains the total area of pattern recognition or computer vision. I am very, very happy that in the home of pattern recognition, that is in Mysore, and at the place of origin of pattern recognition at the institution SJ College of Engineering, this particular faculty development program has been is being conducted. But now, when I heard that Dr. C.K. Rupa will be the coordinator, I have been wondering to see how many generations already Mysore has seen. Dr. C.K. Rupa is the student of Dr. Harish. Dr. Harish was the student of my student, and I was the student of Professor K. Chidanand Gowda. So if Professor K. Chidanand Gowda is the root, then you can see at what level we have reached. It is fourth and fifth generation which is now ruling Mysore, and which has taken over the entire research in computer vision, pattern recognition, and image processing. It also reminds that henceforth we should get into Vanaprastha now. At least now I should get into Vanaprastha because so many youngsters have come over, so many youngsters have taken over the entire field. In my keynote address, I would be speaking more about pattern recognition and computer vision. But right now, I understand most of you are faculty members from various engineering colleges. Is that so, Dr. Rupa and Dr. Nagendraswamy? I think that should be true. Most of them are teachers, isn't it?
Yes, sir, they're from all over, all our faculty, sir. There are totally 141 participants in this
Okay,
activity.
that is nice. That's nice to hear that. And all of them are from different parts of India. That is also nice to hear that. And all of them are very, very young faculty. Now they have now they have been starting their career. Even if you are around 30s or even around 35, you have longer way to go in this field of academy. You will be very, very active for very long time, and you should now be living in the best of the possibility, because just now national education policy has been notified by government of India, and I am thrilled with the national education policy in several aspects, because most of the points we had already introduced at Department of Studies in Computer Science, Manasa Gangotri, and later when I took over this institution of national importance, IIITA Allahabad, Indian Institute of Information Technology, Allahabad, we were far, far ahead of whatever have been contained in national education policy. Now our policy, our rule is that we should go beyond national education policy. That is what we have been doing over here. For the benefit of all faculty who might have joined from different parts of India, and particularly from different institutions, the most important paradigmic shift in national education policy is the assessment method of the students. It is now going to be more upon formative assessment. It stresses more upon formative assessment. What is this formative assessment? When a candidate is is in his formative days, in other words, in his learning days, and the capability to learn has got to be assessed, not the capability to answer a stupid question. So not what to answer is more important. Unfortunately, all of you have been involved in setting such question papers because precedence was such that the precedence that you have picked up is to set only such questions like explain, describe, and derive. Derive is another interesting thing. Newton has derived it. Again, we are going to derive it again. Okay. All right. These are the types of questions that you have asked. And even in fact, for a great change, when so-called internal assessment was brought in, and even those internal assessment went off, it became internal tests. Again, assessment is different from test. Testing is entirely different. Assessment is really able to evaluate the capability of a student without the student knowing that he is being evaluated. That is what is assessment. Many of them would be very silently observed. For example, if somebody is chosen as a vice chancellor of an institution, it is not because of any examination. It is because of the silent observation. It is because how he has built up his record over time, which are silently observed. And he is assessed to assess that, and he is decided that he should become the vice chancellor of an institution. I understand. I hope now you understand the difference between assessment and conducting a test or conducting an examination. When internal assessment was introduced, unfortunately, colleges and even the leaders in the colleges, the academic leaders in the colleges, and surely all of you did not really know how to really effectively conduct internal assessment. But then in the place you started conducting 2 tests or 3 tests and take best of the 2 tests. And what is the type of test? The type of the test is also answer any 3 questions, answer any 4 questions, do this, do that. And again, there is a big timetable for test, 3 days a test timetable, morning 1 test, afternoon 1 test. And then in some institutions it extended up to 1 week also. And then students must have definitely demanded alternate day test is better because we need time to prepare. A lot of stupid ideas. Time to prepare. What the hell were they doing? What was that you people were doing all through the semester? And you want a preparation time? You want to give them the preparation time? And many of the teachers, including many of the heads of the department, also recommend that there must be test times, preparation for the test. Then what is that you were teaching and what is that they were learning? So these are all very questions of miracle, where teaching, learning had really taken a backseat. And now national education policy, for the very first time, strongly, after 72 years of independence of India, has come out that the teaching, learning is one single entity. Teaching, learning is a joint pattern, and that pattern of education has got to be implemented in a very stronger way. And it is not the summative assessment. It is not assessment not based on one ritualistic examination, either at the end of the semester or at the end of the year, but it has got to be continuous, a continuous assessment and a formative assessment. Of all the things in national education policy, I really liked this. And in fact, national education policy has also given the clue how this continuous assessment has got to be done. Anyhow, over time you would be learning that, but then it is time. You're all youngsters, and it is time that you should start dreaming. You should start imagining how the assessment has got to happen, how the people have got to conduct. In fact, it is not a very new idea. Many youngsters have this nostalgic notion that this idea is borrowed from USA or borrowed from Europe. No, it is not at all borrowed from USA, not at all borrowed from Europe. It is Indian idea. It is very much the idea from India. You just see the epic stories of Ramayana, Mahabharata, how the students, particularly all these, when Rama, Lakshmana were students in Ramayana, as well here when all these people were students how were they assessed? You know that. And this assessment is the continuous assessment pattern which Dronacharya followed in Mahabharata, as well in Ramayana it was followed. And this particular aspect has got to be understood by all of us very well, particularly when the teachers go through Ramayana and Mahabharata. They should go through with the intention, with a particular scope on how education in those days was happening. So if we know that this concept of continuous assessment is already available in our epic stories, and that's what USA possibly might have taken it over, and they have implemented it very well in their universities. Europe has implemented it very well in their universities. And those, if you have your elder brothers, or if some of you have done your master's degree in USA and come back, then you would definitely be knowing what is really continuous assessment, how a student has got to end up in learning, not end up in memorizing. So learning is the most important. That is the reason why even in pattern recognition, in my lecture, I am going to focus on the importance of learning, because ultimately today we are now at a stage that the machines themselves have got to learn. So learning has got to be utmost importance. So students have got to learn, and teachers have got to really educate them, teach them to learn. That is what is very, very important. In fact, we should stop giving the question paper, stop setting the question papers like we are setting now. We have not seen in the question papers, they are called engineering, technology oriented question papers, science question papers, science and technology question papers. And we don't see any questions rigorously asking the creativity of the student. Creativity comes only when the candidate is critical in thinking. Unfortunately, neither our teachers happen to be critical in thinking, nor our students happened to take learning as a very critical matter, because most of the students and some of our teachers also depended upon the old question papers. The old question papers decided the length and the breadth of the syllabus, and length and breadth of the coverage of the syllabus. Many teachers, of course, when I was also student, I know many teachers were very comfortably telling that with this 2 questions I have completed, with this 3 questions are completed, with this we have covered the syllabus for 4 questions. If that is the target of teaching, then examination becomes important, not learning. Learning does not happen at all. The disadvantage of this, you know, that if the question paper pattern, now at least I understand some universities have changed the pattern and they have made all questions are compulsory. But at least till few years, answer any 5 questions out of 8 questions, and students almost knew the distribution of questions, like chapter number 1, question number 1, chapter number 2, question number 2, like that they knew. And therefore they used to prepare, and teachers also used to persuade them to prepare only for 5 questions, and some of them would even bank upon 4 questions only, 4 or 5 questions, at most one risk 6 questions. What does it mean? It means that student in some level like 4th semester or 5th semester, he would prepare only for 6 questions out of 8 questions, which means not even 80% of the syllabus has been learned by him, provided the preparation for those 6 questions really implied learning for those at least the 80% of the syllabus, provided that, please underscore that. Now 20% is voluntarily left off. 20% is voluntarily left off, and this subject is a strong prerequisite, obviously, to take up the next semester. So with no 20% or with 20% foundation missing, how can you build a superstructure in the next semester and thereafter in the next semester? That is the reason why the learning curve goes on decreasing. from first semester to 8th semester, the learning methodology goes on decreasing, learning enthusiasm goes on decreasing, and ultimately passing an examination becomes important. Examination and old question papers become the database and knowledge base of learning. This is not the way. So national education policy has now changed the policy. Well then, however much we change the policy, ultimately it is the youngsters like you, the young teachers like you, who shall be responsible for the success of any implementation. Whatever may be the guideline, unless the teachers, young teachers like you, do not get yourself committed to the purpose of really teaching and learning. And teaching and learning for us also is essential, and teaching so that they are encouraged to learn and they are always challenged. Whether a student should certainly feel that even to touch my teacher, I need to do lot of preparation, lot more preparation. On the other hand, many examinees, students feel that they are far better than their teachers. If examinee feels that he is better than an examiner, then where is the point of learning? Where is the enthusiasm for learning? Where is the challenge for learning? And these are the things which national education policy focuses. I'm very thrilled about this new concept of national education policy. I'm very happy about that. Another important point you should understand that now to take a PhD study, MTech is not a must. MTech is not a requirement. A strong, a good 4 years degree is just enough to start off your research studies. In other words, at BTech level, it is not examination, it is ability to critically think also. It is ability to critically take up research activities. Original thinking activities also should happen, right? This has got to be incorporated. So if this has got to be done, youngsters, you are going to be the policy makers of the future. You should really understand that right now the way you have very stupid idea that you have 4 hours of theory to teach algorithms, 4 hours of theory to teach a stupid language called C++ or a language called Python, 4 hours, and then one practical of 3 hours. What does that mean? What is meant by teaching Python language? What is meant by teaching algorithms? What do you mean by teaching databases? You know, the whole computer science subject, they don't really require so-called classroom blackboard teaching. It is interactive learning. This is what has got to be understood. It has got to be the very interactive learning. So now you have got to really see, design that it is not customary 4 hours of theory and then another lab. Of course, some institutions have brought in this new concept that it is a subject should be integrated composition of lecture, tutorial, and practice. However, they also still maintain that theory subject is lecture predominant with no tutorial and with no practice, and practical subject is entirely different without having a lecture component and some of the time without having even tutorial component. Still, you can see in the syllabus book, the top 4 or 5 courses in every semester is only theory based course, which requires a theory examination. Learn theory, reproduce theory from the memory does not make anybody learn anything. You have got to learn theory, and now you are a professional student. Therefore, you should show that you have the ability to apply that. That's exactly the pattern recognition is going to teach you in a bigger way. Okay, right? So this is very important. Now, other paradigm shift is most of the engineering courses used to be 4 years program. You know that MBBS is also 4 years program. Almost all professional courses are 4+ years. And now, entire education in India is also going to be brought under the same structure of 4 years graduation. So this 4 years graduation simply implies that there is no difference between the type of courses. You cannot tell that some particular course is inferior to some other particular course. All of them are equal because all of them lead to the same philosophy, the philosophy of learning and philosophy of enforcing the knowledge and philosophy of applying the knowledge to become wise. And philosophy ultimately is that the knowledge is for the upliftment of the society. The knowledge is for the very comfortable living in the society, peaceful living in the society. I'm happy that I find that many youngsters are over here. The next 5 days is going to be very interesting, as Professor Dr. Harish was mentioning, that stalwarts in pattern recognition, very well connected to Mysore, are really offering the courses. They are delivering very interesting lectures. I saw the content, and the contents are very up-to-date contents in pattern recognition. So you are almost on the frontier end of pattern recognition. After these 5 days of course, I am sure those who have not started PhD would have definitely will definitely be getting many new problems for the research activities and many new avenues, and all those people would be able to meet the young researchers and the matured efficient researchers available over in Mysore or connected to Mysore. I wish you all the best. It's a very wonderful time. You enjoy these 5 days and keep your mobiles away, throw your mobiles away, let them not disturb you. You just very focusedly listen to these people and get involved into the discussions in a deep with a very deep and a committed heart. Thank you very much. Have a great day. I look forward to my keynote address in a few minutes from now. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. We teacher as a continuous learner will always look up to you for your guidance. As new guidance has come, we always look up to you for this guidance, sir. And we have our head of the department, DS Vinod, sir. He wants to, I request Vinod, sir, to have a word about this FDP. Vinod, sir.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, Vinod.
So, good morning, sir. PM sir.
Good morning.
So I'm very glad I'm blessed today because PM sir is gracing us. And good morning, Nagendraswamy sir.
Good morning, sir.
So good morning, my friend Harish, my colleague Rupa madam. So good morning, one and all. So I don't want to take time. So PM sir has already motivated us. So you're all privileged. So you take this opportunity. So 1 week is very precious. So let all of us learn together, and let us try to understand things, and let us try to implement them. So PM sir has given us a lot of insight. So a lot of things are there in Ramayana and Mahabharata, and of course we are watching these serials every day. So at least even if we learn 1% of Ramayana or Mahabharata, at least 1% of things, probably we will prosper a lot. Our country, our college, institute will prosper a lot. So there you must be waiting for other lectures. So PM sir has given a lot of insight. So let us hope that we will try to adapt whatever possible, whatever might we can do in the new education policy. So we're still trying to understand that, because it has a lot of practical things. A lot of changes are happening at the primary level, at the higher education level. So a lot of things have to be done. So we have to do a lot of work. We have to do a lot of analysis. So that's it. So we're also privileged that we have the Atal scheme sanctioned for our department. So we are privileged. A lot of good speakers are gracing us on the occasion. So I also my humble pranams to His Holiness. So because of His grace, we are here. So my humble pranams to Lotus feet of His Holiness. Nagendraswamy and the present point if. So I don't want to take much time. So thank you. So take this opportunity, learn. So bring name to your institutes. So also make your students learn. So thank you, sir. So thank you, PN sir. Thank you, Nagendraswamy sir. So thank you all. So thank you, Harish and Rupa madam. So I congratulate all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your kind words. We have few of the speakers of this FDP, like as earlier mentioned, HS Nagendraswamy sir, Dr. Deepak sir from IIIT Dharwad, and Mrs. Shambabe madam from Vidyavardhaka College. We all welcome you, sir, madam. As PN sir said, we have the keynote speak from sir. Before going for that, let me introduce PN sir.
You have already done that. It's enough, more than enough.
So,
We are meeting right now. We will go ahead with the keynote lecture.
Few words about you. Like many youngsters are here, so to get inspired from your profile. Can I read it, sir?
Make it very brief. Okay. Tell me that he is my grandfather. That's all.
Sure, sir. I'm proud of it actually, and
Okay.
thank you for this, sir. Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. One second. PN sir, Professor P. Nagabhsuan is presently serving as a director, Indian Institute of Information Technology, Allahabad, UP, India. He has more than 3.5 decades of teaching experience. Prior to joining IIIT Allahabad as director, he has served in several administrative positions such as Chief Nodal Officer, Choice-Based Credit Pattern Continuous Assessment Education System, University of Mysore, Director, Planning, Monitoring and Education Board, Dean, Faculty of Science and Technology, Director, Center of Information, Science and Technology at University of Mysore, Mysore, India. He was also a distinguished professor and chairman at Amrita Vishwavidyapeetham, Amrita University, Coimbatore. Director, Bangalore Education Society for Technology, Advancement and Research and Principal, Bangalore Technological Institute, Bangalore. Is actively associated with various academic, statutories and professional bodies. He is the member of Academic Counseling and Board of Studies of several universities. He has been serving as an active member in Technical Advisory Committee at Indian Statistical Institute, Kolkata, School Board members of Central University of Hyderabad, and Academic Counseling member of Islamic University of Science and Technology, Avantipura, Jammu and Kashmir. There are various high-profile committees of AICT, UGC, DST, NBA, DRDO, now NITs, where Professor Nagabhsuan was an active member. Professor Nagabhsuan sir has worked as an investigator in several major funded projects. He has also rendered his service in number of foreign institutions, such as invited professor at University of Duquesne, Paris, France, visiting professor, Tokyo, Denkin University, Japan, exchange professor, Ingwa Valley State University, USA, visiting scientist, INRI, France, invited expert, Michigan State University, USA, invited expert for assessing program of computer science and technology, University of Medical Science and Technology student, team member of bilateral Indo-Russian workshop, University of Moscow, Russia. Is a fellow of Institution of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineering and fellow of Institution of Engineering. Is a fellow of International Academy of Physical Science. He was offered the prestigious visiting professorship award of IST. He is also awarded ICCR 2008 Outstanding Academician and Researcher Award in appreciating of lifetime contribution to the field of computer science and engineering. Sir has been awarded with a Lifetime Achievement Award, RTIPR 2R 2016 for outstanding achievements, global leadership and dedicated service to the field of image processing and pattern recognition. He has successfully guided 28 numbers of PhDs and has authored more than 400 plus numbers of research papers, out of which more than 100 papers are DBLP indexed. The citation index is 1944 with H index of 25 and I-10 index of 74 reflects his academic accomplishment. Yes, sir. It's an honor and privilege to welcome you to this 5-day FDP program on CVPR. opportunities and challenges. I request you to take over the session, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rupa, for a very elaborate introduction. And thank you. Now, I would be sharing the slides. Please check whether the slides are shared or not, okay?
Okay, sir. Okay.
I think you should stop sharing, only then I can
Yeah,
share.
I've stopped it, sir.
Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
You can see that now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
All right, its full screen is visible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, good morning to all of you. I see people from Rajasthan. I also see people from Kerala. So, from tip of India to other tip of India, I've been seeing the participants in this faculty development program. Good morning to all of you. So now my talk would generally be upon pattern recognition, and I want to, in my talk, I want to show that pattern recognition has been single-handedly responsible for the growth of a very, very new field called computer science and engineering in the entire stream of engineering. You see this pattern recognition. Pattern recognition is composed of three aspects. The three aspects are cognition, recognition, and patterns. Cognition, recognition, and patterns. So composition of three aspects. We shall take each one of them one by one, and I shall love to add the flavor in the way I would love to do that. Okay. So now pattern recognition. In that I shall take up cognition part. What is cognition? Cognition is about learning about something is called cognition. Okay, knowing about it, learning about it, understanding it is cognition, learning. And learning is by training. So it can be taught by a teacher, or it can be directed by a teacher, or somebody may even advise you, go through this book, go through that. He may not even teach, but he may be advising you. Somebody might give it as a self-study assignment, or somebody might even inspire you to do it even without a teacher, but somebody would definitely inspire. Or it can be self-inspirational drawn, or it can be compulsive. Call it by whatever the name. Learning happens. Learning by training happens. And learning by training leads to either a supervised learning or a unsupervised learning or a quasi-supervised learning. Your teachers who are going to, experts who are going to deal with learning will deal in detail about supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and quasi-supervised learning. There is nothing to know about it. It is so simple. It is philosophically contained phrases, supervised learning. If one is supervising how you are learning, if one is monitoring, if a teacher is monitoring your course of learning, then it is called a supervised learning. That is why in a PhD, guide is called a supervisor, because he monitors the course of your research activity. In almost all school education, we are being supervised by our teachers. We are explicitly taught by our teachers, school and college education. Unsupervised learning, unsupervised. The explicit teacher is not there, but you draw motivation from some different sources. You draw reasons from different from different aspects, and you have the purpose to learn on your own. You would learn on it on your own. Okay, that is what is unsupervised learning. Then there is quasi-supervised learning, a small direction by a teacher, but later you will pick up a lot, or you will start your own way, and then you will meet an advisor, a philosopher, or a mentor who will correct you, or who will tell you, okay, whatever you have done till now is in this way. Make a little tilt, make a small tilt. So that is called quasi-supervised learning. This quasi-supervised learning may start from unsupervised, may go through a phase of supervised learning, and ultimately learning would happen. Or it may start with a little supervision, and then by and large is a self-learning which would be happening. So the learning by training could be supervised learning or unsupervised learning or any other combination, hybrid combinations of supervised or unsupervised learning. This is one aspect of learning. The other aspect of learning is it can be a deterministic learning. So whether it is supervised learning or unsupervised learning or quasi-supervised learning could follow any one of them, or learning by training could be any of them. Like it can be a deterministic learning, a very, very deterministic way, like however you taught mathematics. So there is only a deterministic set of rules. However you taught physics, very deterministic way of learning. Or is there a specific way of writing A, B, C, D? Is there a specific direction in which A, B, C, D has got to be learned? That is what teachers have taught you. It is very, very deterministic learning. Other is probabilistic learning, this way or that way. What is the probability? So this is probabilistic learning. So deterministic learning, probabilistic learning, ambiguous learning under ambiguity, fuzzy learning, and then another new area of learning introduced by Professor Edwin Dide, who even today is a living legend in France. And we were the Professor Chidanand Gowda and myself, Nagabhsuan, we were the first associates with Professor Edwin Dide. And this learning is symbolic data analysis for learning. I understand that you are going to deal with the symbolic data analysis for learning in the next 5 days program also. So these are all various forms of learning, and various titles for learning are supervised learning, unsupervised learning essentially, and they can take one of these paths: deterministic, probabilistic, fuzzy, symbolic, etc., etc. All right. So this is about cognition. Now, what is learning? Cognition, I told you, it is learning. Learning, can machine learn by itself? See, now we have learned, or you have got an algorithm to learn, whatever it is. But can machine learn by itself? Can machine do it? Can machine learn by itself? That is the ultimate machine learning that leads to machine learning. At the end of this pattern recognition course, you should start seriously thinking, can the machine become autonomous learning machines, self-learning machines? In other words, if an auto rickshaw is moving on the road, the moment it sees the red light, or the moment it sees people automatically crossing the road, many people crossing the road, even the driver, without applying the brakes, automatically the system should apply the brakes and auto rickshaw should come to a halt. It should automatically go to the left side of the road and halt over there. Can such things be possible? That is what is machine learning. Can machine learn by itself? And learning can be at one go, one stretch. People complete learning. So sit in one stretch and then complete the entire learning. So this is learning at one go. So all the learning material, you take it up and you observe, assimilate the entire learning material in one stretch, in one go, not at all in any piecemeal way. This is what is learning at one go. On the contrary, they can be learning at different intervals from different sources. Look at your high school. It started in now the new education policy, high school starts from 9th standard. So the learning happens in 4 years now: 9th standard, 10th standard, 11th standard, and 12th standard. So learning happens in an incremental mode. So it is incremental learning. So at different intervals, at different instants of time, but of course in a time sequence. So it is incremental learning. Okay. Now what is this progressive learning? See, progressive learning, I will give you a very simple example. Maybe when you were a primary school student, some teachers would have definitely taught you about, let us say, about the big kings in India, like Ashok Chakravarti. Again in high school, you learned about Ashok Chakravarti. Again in +2, those people who took history as main subject of study, they might have learned Ashok Chakravarti in a deeper way. And those people in their MA, would again learn about Ashoka Chakravarti in a very, very big way. And some people may even take Ashoka Chakravarti as a PhD topic also later. This is what is progressive learning. So one is incremental learning, another is progressive learning, another is modular learning. Take one module and learn it fully, assimilate about it, understand about it, and then take to the new module. So you split the entire content of learning into different modules, into small pieces of learning, into small chunks, and each chunk is learned independently. That is what is modular learning. So all these learning will happen at different intervals of time, or can happen from different sources. You know very well that when you were a primary school teacher, learning used to happen only from one source called one teacher. The moment you came into high school, you had the different sources. One mathematics teacher, one science teacher, one language teacher, like that. Different sources were there. And when you get into modular learning, surely each module is expected to be taught by an expert. Expert YouTube will be picked up, an expert Google search will be picked up. So modular learning is by an expert. So generally from different sources. So you should now see learning at one go is different from learning at different intervals, and that is the different intervals could be in the time frame, or also could be from distributed sources of learning. And then another, learning at different levels. Just now I have told the Ashoka Chakravarti story, like you learn in primary school, then you learned at high school, then you learned at the +2 level, at the college level, then you learned at postgraduate level, like that. So then these are all learning at different levels in life, learning about different levels. Okay, so one such is the latest one, which has got a lot of interest and which is also called a groundbreaking invention. I think all of you should go through the book by Professor V. Rajaraman. It is a book on groundbreaking inventions. It starts from 1956, goes up to as late as this year. It collects about 15 groundbreaking inventions which caused entire computer science, which brought in a revolution in the world of information communication technology. When you go through it, you can see that as though all these inventions have happened only because of pattern recognition. You would understand that, you would really relish that. So the deep learning is one such. So deep learning I would call it as a global learning. What is global learning? It gives you a global image, vision of the problem. At the same time, it picks up all local details also. Global plus local learning. I will not get into greater details now. It is a multi-level learning. At every level, you would be picking up advanced knowledge. The people will call it as features, but I don't like to call it as features. I would like to call it as knowledge. At any point of learning, knowledge is extracted. It is not information. Knowledge is extracted, and at the subsequent level, deeper and deeper knowledge about smaller and smaller thing is extracted for a more and more efficient decision making. Okay, so that is what is deep learning. Then experience based learning. This is very important. See, why a young man like you cannot become the vice chancellor of an institution? Why an young man like you cannot be chosen as director of the big institutions? Because you need to acquire learning through experience. So only at the end, when they feel that the people feel that that you are sufficiently experienced to handle, and experience is going to now play a major role in decision making, then it becomes experience based learning. So experience based learning is very important. It at different levels. So when you are young man, The type of experience that you have is entirely different. When you are a middle-aged man, the type of experience is entirely different. Then when you are a ripe old man, then the type of experience is entirely different. So experience-based learning, then reinforced learning. So you would have learned, and then you would have got counter examples, or more rich examples, or enhancing examples in life, and then how would they reinforce your learning process? So reinforced learning. So there are different levels. So you should understand, I have classified learning as learning at one go and learning at the different intervals of time, are different from different sources. Learning at different levels. Level is elevating your depth of understanding, depth of assimilating. This is what is the different types of learning. So this is about cognition. Now we shall see what is recognition. So cognition is learning. What is recognition? Recognition is obviously applying whatever you have learned. So making use of the knowledge that you have amassed during the stage of learning. Or in other words, recognition ultimately shows how wise are you in reacting to any situation, any unknown situation. Let me call it as any unknown test stub, very unknown testing situation in life. That is what is recognition. So recognition comes from re plus cognition. Recognition is outcome of learning. Just now I was explaining that it is outcome of learning or outcome of training. So recognition definitely depends upon the knowledge that you have enriched, the knowledge that you have amassed during the learning stage. Therefore, there is a big knowledge base. So the way it is created in human brain is entirely different. We still do not know what is the organization of this knowledge base in human brain, but we try to simulate that using our computers, okay, using the memory in the computers, using the system, using data structures or whatever it is, we try to simulate this knowledge base. So the learning outcome of learning is stored as a knowledge base, the knowledge. And then this knowledge supports decision making. That's all. It supports decision making. So learning leads to knowledge. Knowledge helps you in arriving at the decisions, supports the decision making. So the decision making is correctly labeling it correctly, describing a test unit, describing a test sample very, very correctly. All right. That is what is correct labeling, is the decision making. And labeling what? Labeling, as I just now mentioned, labeling the cases which are presented to you. Like a medical student during the 4 years of MBBS, he would have that internship period. He will be in the wards, he will be seeing many patients, and these are all learning under supervision. The guide, the seniors, the seniors, the PG students would help them to learn. But when they become doctor, when the cases arrive to them, they are all unknown cases, unlabeled cases, and now he has got to label the disease properly. That is what is the labeling the test cases. So recognition is ultimately just labeling the test cases, labeling the unknown. So recognition simply means labeling the unknown, labeling the test cases. Labeling, intelligently deploying the knowledge. This really requires, there is no doubt, there is knowledge base, but then it is not just random access from the knowledge base. It is not a lookup table. Look into that and tell me what is it. It is not 5 into 4 equal to 20. Look into a lookup table and just tell me what is it. It is not that. It is intelligently interpolating what is not available in knowledge base. It is intelligently extrapolating what is not available in the knowledge base. Or in other words, we have got to intelligently deploy the knowledge and skillfully, very, very skillfully arrive at the decision. Very carefully, skillfully arrive at the decision, which requires the application of both intelligence and skill. That is what is the recognition. Whether these things can be made automatic is the question in machine automatic recognition. Okay, what are the things? Intelligence and skill in arriving at the proper decision making. So the intelligent proper decision is resolving ambiguity. We should be able to resolve lot of ambiguities. For example, badly written T, is it L or is it a T? Okay, you should understand, you should resolve it properly. So resolving the ambiguity, that is what is required. You have got to not only apply the knowledge, you have got to apply your experience, that is a skill, and you have to resolve the ambiguity. Other end, you should have the, you should express the confidence, the level with which you have successfully arrived at the recognition. How confident are you about your recognition decision? I think some of you might have experienced this, and particularly those who have reviewed the paper, who have served as reviewers, they will face one last question. Are you confident about your judgment? That is what is one question that they would ask. Similarly, a judge should always ask himself, is he confident that he has delivered this judgment? Is he confident that it is the right judgment? That is what, am I confident that I have taught you in the right direction? So confirming the confidence in recognition decision making. Okay, in the recognition decision. One is resolving ambiguity. There should not be any ambiguity. It must be perfect decision. Other is how correct is your decision. So confirming the confidence. Okay, so this all get involved in recognition process. So recognition, therefore, is the ability to accept the test cases. Okay, right? With whatever the learning you have done, are you able to take up those test cases and then properly assign the label or properly refute the cases? See, you should be able to assign and treat the case or properly refute it. No, it does not belong to this class at all. This decision is incorrect. I cannot take this decision. Or with my knowledge, I am not the right person to take any decision. It has got to be referred to another system. Okay, that is what is refuting the case. So assigning the label or refuting the case. Most of the pattern recognition systems will not do this. They don't refute at all. They try to badly assign a sample to one of the classes that they have learned. They badly, which is incorrect. If it does not depend, it has got to be treated as a unresolvable case. So the recognition should be able to do the recognition properly or refute, or you should tell, no, this is not my case. Therefore, the important issues which will be dealt in recognition are true acceptance. True acceptance. That is what 100% confident acceptance. True rejection. 100% confident in rejection also. No, it does not belong to this class. True acceptance. Yes, surely it belongs to this class. No, it does not belong to this class. Both of them are true. Very strong acceptance and strong rejection. Very true. But these are the dangerous things. False acceptance. False things get accepted. Like nowadays, non-COVID people also are shown to be COVID positive. That is false acceptance. On the other hand, there is a false rejection also. He will be COVID positive, but people will tell that he is COVID negative. That is false rejection. This should not also happen. False acceptance is dangerous. False rejection is dangerous. You recall the previous slide where I told what is the confidence in your decision making. And these are quantified in terms of the following. One is true acceptance, true rejection, false acceptance and false rejection. And the people who would take certain case studies and who would build up the model would further define all these four aspects of recognition. Okay. Now recognition, there are many things which are associated with recognition. The practical aspects. Number one, the speed with which recognition can be achieved. See, it is not learning, it is recognition. Learning is completed. knowledge base is completed, you have reached the level of making the decision. Now, what is the speed with which you can make the decision? That is speed with which recognition can be achieved. Offline recognition. Is it an offline recognition? Like you collect all the data, you collect all the features, and then you do the recognition leisurely. Is that offline recognition, or is it online recognition? As the sample arrives, before the sample leaves, can I take the recognition? Can I do the recognition? It is online recognition, like offline character, like the check which you have written, expressing the validity of the check is offline process, because it is not when you were writing the check, but you have submitted the check. Therefore, it is offline recognition. The valuation of the answer books given by your students is offline. Whereas when you are conducting an examination, let us say viva voce examination, let us say PhD thesis defense, it is online recognition. All right, online recognition. And the other one is, of course, this is a part of online only, real-time recognition. Real time, in the real time, as and when it is happening, can you take the recognition? It's slightly difference in meaning between online recognition and real-time recognition. In online recognition, you can allow some delta t units of delay, but in real-time recognition, the recognition has got to happen aligned with the dynamism of the activity which is going on. The dynamic nature of the problem has got to be borne in mind. So these are the other different aspects which are associated with the recognition, which will involve the hardware, the hardware support, which not only the quality of the software, but the hardware support which is provided to achieve this speed, to achieve the real-time recognition possibilities. This is other. So this implies the quickness in accessing from the knowledge base, how quickly you can access from the knowledge base. So now you should understand, knowledge base is built, but it is not a sequential access. Maybe knowledge base is designed sequential. Maybe this construction, the architecture of knowledge base could be sequence pattern. But however, accessing the information, accessing the knowledge from that has got to be simultaneous, has got to be concurrent. So the quickness with which you access the knowledge base. Okay, so the act of intelligence. So quickness of accessing the knowledge base is an mere act of intelligence. That is where smart intelligence has got to. See, intelligence is in two ways. Number one, while learning also you have got to be intelligent, and while applying the knowledge base, while extracting from the knowledge base also, one has got to be intelligent. That's the act of intelligence. That leads to the very, very big field called artificial intelligence, AI. Okay, all right. So now I shall come to pattern. So till now I completed the cognition and I completed an overview of recognition. Now in this phrase pattern recognition, we will come to pattern. What is pattern? Pattern is refers to the sample space, refers to data space, input space. Generally it is called the population. So what is that I am going to study? Am I going to study all mango trees? Then all mango trees will become the sample space. Or am I going to study all trees? Then all types of trees will become sample space. Am I going to study all animals? So all animals will become the sample space or data space, input space. Generally we call it as a population. Okay. If it is pin code recognition, as in India, a zip code recognition. Of course, pin code recognition is more scientific because a pin code is composed of only digits. Therefore, you should know all types of handwritten patterns of 0 to 9, how they write it. Now, pin code writing is made very convenient on the postal inland letters or postal box because they provide the boxes. 6 boxes are provided and you have got to write the digits. It is not really cursive, but in an unstructured envelope, on an unstructured envelope when you write, it fully becomes cursive. They are all these characters, the whole space of characters is called the sample space, the whole population. So then size of the population becomes important. See, of course, you have many people. As many people are there, so many varieties of learning is there. So would you wait for every type of sample to learn? You would like to see every type of tree on earth. Would you like to see every type of mango tree on the earth? So that is what is size of the population. There has got to be a limit, because learning cannot happen for infinite time to come. Learning has to happen in the finite amount of time with finite size of the population. So size of the population becomes very, very important. So now size, when you are learning, what is the size? And that is called learning set or training set. Learning set or training set. Then naturally the test set. How big should be the test set? If the test set is so big, what should be the type of training set? And people particularly dealing with supervised methods of learning, particularly dealing with all neural networks, would start dealing with training set and test set. And should it be of maximum instances? Should it be of minimum instances? These are all different varieties of questions. Now, before getting into varieties of questions, let me get into one philosophical aspect of this question. Now, tell me, who is called a very intelligent student? Or when you were in a class, some of your classmates would have told that you are very intelligent. Under what circumstances you were labeled as intelligent? An intelligent person, according to me, is as follows. He learns in minimum amount of time with minimum exposure. Or in other words, he is one who is able to read some content and is able to make use of that content and build upon that content automatically. So, in other words, the minimum learning from the minimum size and exploiting that knowledge to maximize the outcome is the real challenge in learning. But unfortunately, we have seen in most of the pattern recognition experiments, most of the pattern recognition models which people bring out later, they want to focus on a large chunk of learning, a large chunk of data, a large chunk of population input space for learning. I am personally of the opinion that learning has got to happen from the selected, properly chosen input space, which is able enough to teach you all the diversities present in what has got to be learned. So in fact, you need to do a lot of wonderful research on really minimizing the number of minimizing the size of training set and the number of samples to be used for learning, and maximize your outcome. You are able to exploit that knowledge, and that is where the next stage of incremental add-on reinforced learning, experience-based learning should happen lifelong. But to begin with, you have got to be ready to do the decision process, the recognition process with minimal exposure to learning, which should happen with minimum number of samples. But which are those minimum instances? Minimum or maximum instances? These are the questions. That is why I have put question mark over here. It's a very interesting topic. Okay, interesting thing. Like I got to tell you. See, many of us will practice lot of work. It is called desk practicing. Well, some people practice on many problems, but some intelligent person would practice on some 3-4 examples and he is ready. But he would have practiced taking up very diverse examples, and he would have learned it so very well that he is able to apply that knowledge in solving any other unknown sample. That is what is the intelligence. That is why intelligence in learning, intelligent learning is a greater field. So if there is a very big population, then the whole pattern recognition becomes a big data problem. Okay, very big data problem. Later, if somebody touches on big data problem, they will touch on 3 important V's, 3 V's. One is called velocity, veracity, and volume. Volume is large amount of data, and it has got veracity. The variety in the data is too many, too different aspects, too many diverse aspects. And velocity, in other words, data also changes, data also fluctuates. There is a lot of fluctuation. There can be seasonal fluctuation, there may be time-wise fluctuation, there may be region-wise fluctuation also. Like mangoes in Uttar Pradesh are of different size compared to mangoes of Andhra Pradesh, and mangoes of Karnataka are of different size. So these are different fluctuations. So there is variation also. All right. Okay. So pattern is just now I told you, pattern is characteristic observations. In the previous slide, I spoke about the number of samples, but every sample has lot of characteristic observation. A human being, how do you recognize a human being? Is it because of nose, or is it because the way he smiles? If you have learned recognizing a person the way he smiles, now your methodology is a big failure, because every one of us will be wearing a mask, and when we wear a mask, the lips cannot be visible at all. But one has got to be intelligent enough to learn that even eyes can display the smile, and even the upper portion of the cheeks will certainly display the smile, and through that smile, through that what is visible, I should be able to recognize. So these are the characteristic observations. That is why in human recognition, face is supposed to be the index of recognition, because it shows a lot of things. Forehead and the wrinkles on the forehead, they show the emotions. The eyes show the emotions. Eyes show the gravity of depth of understanding. Eyes show display the affection. Eyes show the anger. So eyes, and eyes, that is the reason the eyes are most important component in the face recognition problem. Now the recognition with mask, without mask, how successfully can you recognize? There are features. These are all the observations. All these observations are called the features. So again, how many features? How many? So there is a feature space. Every sample has several features, and this would constitute the feature space, and the number of features would constitute the dimensionality of the problem. All right, it can be n dimension. Like you take the face, then you can see the eyes, and you can quantify about eyes, then see the cheek, and then the teeth, the lips, and then the chin, lot of things, and then you quantify. Each one will become contributes to one dimensionality. So how many dimensions? So it is a feature space. So if if m represents the number of samples, there can be every sample, if it is described by n features, then it is an automatically a m cross n matrix. So how many features? Then how many features are enough? And if more number of features are there, would it cause the problem in recognition? So that is what is called the curse of dimensionality. More the number of features, more could be the confusion. It is a curse of dimensionality. How many features? This is another interesting problem. So if there are large number of features, can I reduce the number of features and still do effective learning and effective recognition? Effective learning and effective recognition. That is what is dimensionality reduction. So dimensionality reduction definitely starts with simply ignoring some of the features. So can I straight away ignore some of the features, like feature subsetting? Now with mask being worn on the face, it is not ignoring, it is not available. The lip portion is not available. So that's also feature subsetting. Other is feature transformation. Take one set of features and transform them into another set of features, doing some mapping. So there are mapping functions which are used, and that is where algebraic mapping or geometrical mapping would become possible. Feature transformation. Your computer graphics makes use of simple feature transformation. 3D world is represented on a 2D screen. So it is a 3D transformation into 2D screen. It can be a perspective transformation, or it can be any such so all in your geometry, in your engineering drawing classes, you have learned all these different varieties of transformations, like isometric transformation, a lot of transformations. Okay, and then this is interesting. Feature selection, query based. Depending upon the target of study, can there be a feature selection depending upon the target of study? Like now, let us say you're all at that young age. Let's say you have to now attend a marriage function or a marriage party. Or the marriage itself could be your own marriage. Then what type of dresses you would buy, or what type of preparation would you do? These features are entirely different. I will give you a very simple and interesting example. So they are all, I meet many youngsters. Let us assume that I have a grown-up granddaughter for whom we are searching for an alliance. Then when I look at youngsters like you, my inquisitive eyes would look at those features which could probably qualify any one of you to be a proper match for my granddaughter. The type of features that I would look is entirely different. I would probably look how humanitarian are you. I would probably look at how attractive you look like, and I probably look like what is your earning ability, what are your values in life. These are different types of features that I may look at. But on the other hand, if Dr. Nagendraswamy is looking at you, or if Dr. Guru is looking at you from the intention of picking up you as a next PhD candidate, then the type of features that one would be interested in extracting are entirely different. Okay, they would definitely try to look at what is your aptitude towards your research, how deep are you in your mathematical ability, how are your analytical skills, how independently are you able to design the data structure. So these are the types of features one could be interested. See, the same set of samples, but the types of features that I extract, if I want to employ you as a researcher, is different from if I want to consider you as a son-in-law or a daughter-in-law. These are entirely different. So that is what is feature selection, query-based feature selection. Depending upon the query, depending upon the target of study, how do I do the feature selection? So today we talk about the feature transformation. They are all generic feature transformations, but I want the feature transformation to project the content with regard to the query in my mind, with regard to the question in my mind. That is very important. Again, you see Dronacharya for that matter. Dronacharya, when he is conducting the test, he will ask, what are the things that you see before setting up the arrow? Then Dharmaraya tells some other, many other features, and then Arjuna tells different features, Duryodhana tells different features, Bhima tells different features. So, but the purpose is only to see the eyes of the parrot which is sitting on the tree, which is made to sit on the tree, and what type of features would anybody be able to visualize. That shows how mature are you when you learned about it, isn't it? So this particular problem, the feature selection, feature transformation under the query, under the target of study is important. Okay, is very, very relevant, very demanding. All right. So totally pattern recognition. Focus on this particular slide very carefully. See, recognition, just now I have told you, is a set of algorithms. It leads to intelligent computing. So set of algorithms, it leads to intelligent computing, and intelligent computing surely leads to artificial intelligence, and artificial intelligence now gradually leads to the most advanced subject called machine intelligence. Can machines display intelligence? Can we write algorithms such that machines themselves display that natural intelligence that human beings possess? So these are, ultimately, it is a set of algorithms, advanced algorithms, very advanced algorithms, set of course on algorithms. Now look at pattern. What is pattern? Pattern is set of sample space. When I mention it is sample space, it can be numeric data vectors. Most of them are numeric data vectors, or at least our experience has been limited to numeric data vectors, but that is not the data space, that is not the sample space, that is not the input space. Input space can be qualitative text, good, very good, excellently good, extraordinarily good, And all PhD theses are evaluated qualitatively, not in numeric. Okay, our numeric is only in the examination, but really qualitative description about a person is most important. Qualitative text. Now you know that images also constitute the sample space. Now videos, multimedia. So vision space is multimedia. These are all in vision space: images, videos, and multimedia. Multimedia has got both audio, video, everything. So images, video, multimedia, vision space. The content can be structured or unstructured, isn't it? You can see these small advertisements on Sunday newspaper, wanted brides, wanted bridegrooms. It is very short, but then it tells you one aspect. It tells you what is expected, the target. Another aspect tells what am I, what is the candidate. 5 feet 6 inches, 5 feet 4 inches, very smart. 5 feet 4 inches is numeric, and then very smart is qualitative. And then they may give a small image also, small picture of yours, the front picture of yours, or they may show some video also. So these can be structured or unstructured. In a very structured fashion, all the data could be arranged, or totally unstructured. For your resume, the people write resumes in different ways, and if I collect the resume of 10 people, they will all be different formats and different types. So the data is said to be unstructured there. So the data could be structured, the data could be unstructured. This all leads to representation of data. Sometimes it can be analog data also. Most of course, here we are speaking about digital data, but there are analog inputs also. And this definitely leads to the study of, you should have the mastery over data structures, and then from data structures, when it becomes the huge content, it becomes databases, and then you should know how to extract the information from the databases. So data structures, databases, and information. Here it is algorithms. Here it is data structures. So data structures plus algorithms is pattern recognition. Okay. All right. So now acquiring. Now it is not just only data, databases. It is acquiring the data, then storing the data, transporting the data, which requires communication of data, transportation of data from one end to the other end. Now, you know, cloud as a service, now cloud as a platform, all right, cloud as a storage house. So communicating, and then reliability, confidentiality. When you are transmitting, you should be reliable about the transmission medium, and confidentiality. When I am transmitting, you should be sure that nobody has hacked that data. All right, nobody has inducted, nobody has changed the data, and they have morphed the data. It is confidentiality, therefore security. So this leads to many advanced issues like cryptography, steganography in case of videos, and in case of images, steganography, cryptography in case of text material, in case of numeric data. What I am trying to tell is, ultimately, pattern recognition is the one which has given lot of impetus to the study of computer science and engineering, or to the basically information tech. Information technology is a superset. Computer science and engineering is a subset of information technology, because computer science, communication, and technology would be the constituent features of information technology, plus the domain of the sample space, the domain of the pattern recognition. That is what is information technology. So you have seen that these are all the subjects you study: data structures, databases, algorithms, artificial intelligence, intelligent communication, computer networks, advanced computer networks, graphics for representation, okay, huge databases, security, cryptography. These are all what you study in computer science. In other words, without your knowledge, the whole course in computer science and engineering is indirectly a course on pattern recognition. That's all. Okay. So pattern recognition has been the greatest reason for such a wonderful growth of the field called computer science and technology, now which is shaping up as a bigger field, a more generic field called information technology. For example, you would observe this system software like interpreters, compilers, debugging, operating system. You call it as the big system software, but for me, they appear like specific instances of pattern recognition. Compiler is a pattern recognition for me, debugging is a pattern recognition, operating system is a pattern recognition. So these are all specific instances of pattern recognition for me. Okay. So how much time am I left with? I should be able to conclude it now, Professor Nagendraswamy, Rupa.
So 5 to 8 minutes you can, sir.
Okay. So these are all specific instances of pattern recognition. You just carefully observe that how compiler can be treated as a pattern recognition problem, how debugging can be treated as a, in fact, even how operating system is a pattern recognition problem, and then how distributed operating system becomes a distributed pattern recognition problem. You should be very inquisitive to find out. There are advanced aspects of pattern recognition or refined pattern recognition problems. The refined pattern recognition is so digital image processing or video processing, where the entire sample space is in the vision mode, or is in the image mode, or it is in the video mode. So when the entire sample space is specifically limited to images and videos, then it becomes digital image processing. Little generalization of that is media and multimedia processing, multimedia pattern recognition. And very specific of that, limited to only 2D, two-dimensional document images, then it becomes a document image analysis. Naturally, document image analysis has got two parts. Number one, content. Number two, construction. Construction is the image part. Content is natural language processing. Thus, natural language processing becomes a refined pattern recognition problem. Okay, all right. So other very interesting problem. I just deal with this particular problem now. Is called one class problem. Most of us are interested in extracting one class of interest. See, when you go to a patient, this doctor will be more interested in checking whether you are affected by the disease or not affected. So a cancer doctor would like to see whether there is a cancer, and if there is a cancer reported, what type of cancer. It is all focused to one class. So if I give entire set of samples, can you extract all those people who have studied computer science as a formal course? So it is one class problem. So when it comes to, see, a given population may contain more than one class, but I am interested in extracting only one class, right? That is what is the problem. So in one class, a target class, a class of interest is more important. So let us assume that the sample is trained with only one class of interest. Okay, is trained with only one class. It's very difficult problem. You should understand that. Okay, if it is trained with only one class, that is training samples belonging to only one and only one class are provided for the training purpose. No other samples are provided. Then how recognition would happen? What is the accuracy of recognition? These are all very important problems. But if the class contains nearly similar class or deceptively similar class, deceptively equivalent class, then how will be the recognition? How can the recognition happen? This is a little advanced problem. So if the training is then how particularly the feature transformation with the one class training has got to happen. I do not have time now to explain this. Okay, so let us think, what does learning and recognizing mean? Does it mean understanding? Learning is okay, recognizing is okay. Does that mean understanding? Okay, now when I am speaking, you will tell that yes, I am learning, and then you will apply whatever I have spoken, and then you will recognize. Yes, I tell that you have recognized. Then we definitely imply that you have understood. But does that mean machine also has understood? Does that mean it is understanding? For example, learning to auto-evaluate. So if I am evaluating an answer board, I would go through the answer. I will understand what he has written, and then I will evaluate and I will give a marks out of 10, 2 marks, 3 marks, 4 marks, 5 marks, 6 marks, like that I will give. That is because I am able to understand. So I have recognized the correctness of the answer. I have recognized the correctness of the answer. Does that mean the machine also has been able to read and understand the correctness of the answer? Has it understood the correctness of the answer? See, understanding is entirely different from learning and recognizing. Can the system also understand what is wrong? See, you understand and therefore you are able to decipher that this is wrong. But can the system understand what is wrong? These are very, very interesting questions. Can self-learning be by machine be possible? So can machine really understand? Can self-learning by machine be possible? Naturally, these are the next generation of machine learning. Okay, so pattern recognition starts and now moves on to automatic autonomous machine learning, and tomorrow what you are going to think are those machines for which the algorithms that you write are the algorithms which prompt the machines to automatically decide which data have got to be taken and what has got to be picked up from the data and what should be the output or what should be the outcome of that. Or in other words, can we make the machines understand? At this point, I shall stop because this is the frontier end of pattern recognition, which we would be dealing. I'm very, very sure the next sessions from this day onwards, each one of them will take deeper and deeper into several aspects, and they will take you to, as I already listed in one of the table, how they would start showing what are the different methods of learning, what are the different methods of organizing the data, and the data, if it is temporal data, how do we handle, if it is very big data, how do we handle, if it is spatial data, how do we handle. All these different aspects would be taken up. Be attentive, enjoy, and you have a lot more things to learn. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. It was
Okay.
a privilege to hear you today, sir. Especially the way you take the real world example and explain the topic, it makes us more curious and more understandable very easily, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I request the participants if any queries and questions to be put on the chat box. Any queries you can put in the chat box. So respected sir, on behalf of SJC and Department of IISc, I wholeheartedly thank you for the wonderful talk you gave, sir. The
Thank
talk
you
was
very
very
much.
informative and you highlighted all the points of fundamental pattern, starting from the data feature extraction, dimensionality reduction techniques, feature selection, representations, transformation, and so on. So your talk will be great context setting for all our future tasks.
Yes,
Hopefully the rest
thank
of
you. Hope
rest of us.
if I have done that as a
Yes, sir.
base function, then it's okay. Good. Thank you.
Rest of the speaker will elaborate more on the topics you have presented, sir.
Right.
Thank you once again, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot for
Thank you.
accepting our invitation and to give the keynote speech for this 5 days CVPR. Thanks a lot,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you
So
very
next
much.
session is at 11:45 from HSL sir itself, sir.
Oh,
You're
good.
seeing me. Sir.
Okay. Then
Thank you, sir.
may I bid all of you goodbye and all the best for the next classes. Okay.
Thank
Sure,
you.
sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
All the
you.
best. All the best.
Thank
All the
you.
best to all of you. Thank you. Thank you.
Sir, we have left with 5 more minutes, sir. HSN, sir.
Okay, madam.
We'll wait for 5 minutes and we'll start the session, sir.
Okay, madam. I am ready.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Participants, information that we'll continue the next session, that is at 11:45 with the same link. Thank you. If you are asking regarding the attendance will be taken automatically from the Google link itself. HSN sir, can we start?
Yes, madam.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have our session 2, and it's from Professor H.S. Nagendraswamy, who's currently working in the working as professor in the Department of Studies in Computer Science, University of Mysore, Mysore. He has obtained his doctorate degree in computer science from University of Mysore and has got more than 20 years of teaching and research experience. He has visited Hanwha University of China to deliver lectures for BTech courses, Moscow State University, Russia, on an Indo-Russian project and presented a research paper. He has presented a paper and chaired a session in one of the international conferences held in Malaysia. He has successfully guided 5 students and currently guiding 6 students towards doctoral degree. He has published 40 plus papers in reputed peer-reviewed international journals, including patent recognition letters, neurocomputing, International Journal of Image and Graphics, International Journal of Machine Learning and Engineering letters, and international conference, including Asian Conference on Patent Recognition, Journal of Intelligence System, Journal of Multimedia Tools and Applications, etc. Sir has co-authored a book on C++ and prepared study materials on various subjects for distance education program of KSOU and University of Mysore. He has been serving as a reviewer for various international journals and conferences. He was the program chair for the International Conference on Cognition and Recognition 2011 and Data Analytics and Learning 2018, organized by the DOS in Computer Science, University of Mysore, Mysore. His area of research interests include pattern recognition, image processing, fuzzy set and theory, data mining, and related areas. Over to you, sir. Sir, it's your.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, sir.
So thank you, Dr. Rupa, for having introduced me to the audience. So dear participants and respected members of the organizing team and all the dignitaries or online, good morning to each one of you and best wishes for the day. At the outset, I would like to congratulate all the members of the organizing team for having provided this platform for all the budding and the senior researchers to learn and share their ideas for a better research and for a better community. Because to have a very good community, being an intellectual group of people, particularly the teaching community, we should have a good ideas and a creative thoughts to solve the societal problems. And that is possible only through research. So it is the responsibility of all the academicians and the budding researchers to think a better solution to the problems what we are facing today in the society. In this context, the organizing committee of SJCE Computer Science Department has put a lot of effort in organizing this 5 days FTP program and provided this opportunity. In this context, I would like to congratulate all of them. At the same time, I would like to congratulate all the participants for your interest and active participation in this program and also to make this program a success. So with these words, let's begin my lecture in this session. So I will be sharing my presentation slides. Is it visible?
Not yet, sir. No, sir, not yet. Presentation is not visible. Sir. 1 second.
1 minute. I've just shared.
Yeah.
Is it visible, madam?
Yeah, sir. Yeah. It's
Okay,
visible
fine.
now, sir.
Okay, thank you. Friends, topic of my lecture in this session is fuzzy techniques in computer vision. As you already heard that, most of you, these two are the two broader areas of machine vision. Computer vision again is a ocean, and fuzzy techniques is also another broader area. The topic is very general. I try to cover some of the very much essential topics which covers both the broader areas and try to understand how these concepts can be explored to build a machine learning model which can handle most of a machine vision applications. And that is what is the main thought of this particular topic. I try my level best to give you some of the very important and basic ideas which covers these two broader areas of computer science, I can say. And also, I hope at the end of this lecture, you will be motivated to take up some research work and try to understand how these concepts can be better incorporated in building a machine vision applications. So with this, I was already introduced by Dr. Rupa. Please note down my mail ID for any clarifications, queries, or for a feedback. So to start with, let's understand this particular quote. Every interaction is an opportunity to learn only if we are interested in improving rather than proving. So this shows that we are always in a learning cycle. Every day we learn and we improve ourselves. And the learning is asserted only when we show some improvement in our day-to-day activities. So I hope that this interaction will make you learn something which definitely improves your way of thinking, acting, and also improves the performance in whatever the academic activities or general activities we do in our day-to-day life. The outline of my presentation covers introduction to computer vision, fuzzy sets and logic in computer vision, fuzzy techniques for low, intermediate, and high-level vision, advantages and limitations of fuzzy logic, followed by conclusion and references. As I already mentioned, these two broad categories are very depth and also wide. Maybe it's very difficult to cover all the issues within the session because of the time constraints and also keeping in mind the scope. I try to cover some of the very basic points which covers these two broader areas of computer science. I'd like to recall the contribution by the two great scientists and the researchers, that is Albert Einstein and Lofty-Zadeh. As far as the laws of mathematics refers to reality, they are not certain, and as far as they are certain, they do not refer to reality. If we carefully analyze these statements, I think we can find a lot of avenues for research. And similarly, the Zerde has said that as complexity rises, precise statements lose meaning and meaningful statements lose precision. This is also the fact in our day-to-day life. If we keep these points in our mind, whenever we carry out the research, I hope we can think much better, and that thinking will definitely create some novel ideas in our thoughts, and those ideas can be used to solve some of the challenging issues in the field of computer vision and pattern recognition. So with this, now let us look at this image. The human visual system has no problem interpreting the subtle variations in translucency and shading in this photograph and correctly segmenting the object from its background. I took this image and the statements from one of the books by Zelinsky, Computer Vision Algorithms and Application Text in Computer Science. So the statements or the caption clearly says that there is no match with the human vision system or a perception, because whatever may be the complexity of the image, we can easily understand that, and also we can easily perceive that. If at all I want to segment, I can do it. If at all I want to analyze this in any point of view, I can do that with our natural intelligence. If at all we want to provide such a capability to a machine, then that's not that simple, because a lot of theories, concepts need to be incorporated into the algorithm so that I can expect little performance. I cannot say 100% perfect, or to certain satisfactory level we can do the task, and that is what is the limitation what we are facing today in any computer vision applications. But it is a human visual system which can do this task in a more perfect manner. So till now, as Professor Nagabhsuan sir has already mentioned, that you are not able to understand how our brain thinks, organizes and interprets the data, whether it can be a text data, image data, audio data or voice data. But it has a very complex architecture and the structure that makes it possible to analyze in a multi-dimensional perspective and does most of the tasks, and that is what is called a natural intelligence. But now the researchers are trying to incorporate such a model to a machine so that a machine can think the way human beings think, but still long way to go. We need to explore a lot of ideas and new concepts so that we can expect to some extent such a result. So that's what is the in-depth meaning of this particular image and the text. So with this, let me get into the topic, the computer vision. I assume that you are already quite familiar with this particular field, computer vision, and also to some extent the field fuzzy logic. If not, you just try to understand some of the basic points which I will be sharing with you today. And I think you can definitely find the sources and references to study, understand, and once you get such a level of understanding or a knowledge, I'm sure whatever the points we discuss with this material will be very much clear to you, and you can understood all those things at the end. So with this, let's look at the definition of a computer vision. It is the study of theories and algorithms for automating the process of visual perception. And today we can find a lot of computer vision applications. And if at all we want to realize all those applications, it's essentially we need to study appropriate theories and the algorithms, and that need to be incorporated into a model which does the task of automation of a particular computer vision application. And that's what a very precise definition for a computer vision. So when we look at this, we can definitely understand the three main activities related to a computer vision at various levels. So the three levels of computer vision activities are the low-level vision, intermediate level vision, and high-level vision activities. When it comes to low-level vision activities, we can think of the tasks like noise removal, smoothing, sharpening, and many other tasks related to image processing. Those researchers who have already studied image processing and who have carried out the research in the field of image processing and pattern recognition, you might have already understood all these concepts and you might have already implemented it, right? And all these corresponds to a low-level vision activities. And this plays a very important role in building any machine vision application. And when it comes to intermediate level vision, we need to perform the tasks such as segmentation of region of interest and description and recognition of the segmented images or regions. Definitely, whenever you want to interpret the scene, suppose if I consider a self-driving cars, definitely the imaging sensors or a camera captures the image which contains a lot of objects, but I need to segment the region of interest, maybe the signboard or the road or humps or any such objects of my interest, and then I have to make a decision. And that's what region of segmentation of region of interest plays a very important role, because in an image we have many components. Each components need to be studied, analyzed independently, and then collectively can be used to interpret the scene. If I look at a natural scene images in the morning, I can see the sun, the trees, the mountain, the river, hut, trees. So that is a very beautiful scenery of a nature. If at all I want to analyze and interpret such a scene, I need to segment each of those components and I need to analyze and interpret each of them independently. Then I put them together and then I can analyze the whole scene. And that's what is actually the scene interpretation. So description and recognition of the segmented regions. Professor Nagabhsuan sir has already mentioned about the recognition, cognition and recognition. So first we need to cognize and then we need to recognize. So how we are going to recognize, right? So first we need to describe the object or region of interest with set of features, and then we can recognize that, and that put together will enable us to interpret the image. That's what corresponds to an intermediate level vision. And when it comes to high level vision, it is essentially a high level activity, that's interpretation of the scene or classification of the scene or any other description we need to provide for that particular scene under study. So these are the three major activities related to a computer vision from a machine point of view. So a low level vision, intermediate level vision, and a high level vision. A lot of researchers from the past 3 decades have studied the possibility and also the feasibility of the fuzzy techniques and also many computer vision related algorithms and also image processing algorithms, and they try to integrate all of them to achieve the major objective of automation in a field of computer vision. So with this, let me go into the depth in understanding each of these activities. I try to cover this much of detail in this presentation to the maximum extent possible, because we have just 1 hour 30 minutes of time. So now let's look at some of the interesting observations with these images. When it comes to computer vision, automated systems for scene analysis and interpretation is considered as a significant problem in computer vision, as already mentioned. Whenever you study any matter related to the computer vision, definitely you can understand this particular statement, right? Automated systems for scene analysis and interpretation is considered as a significant problem in computer vision. It can be a robotics or self-driving cars or any such computer vision related applications. Natural linguistic capabilities of high-level computer vision crawls with uncertainty. So this means we, being humans, we have a natural intelligence and we always deal with images at a natural level with a linguistic capability. Say, for example, I can say a very beautiful image, right? A very beautiful environment or a very beautiful scene. So I can describe with such natural linguistic capabilities at a high level, but definitely that will cross with certain uncertainty. Then how to handle that is a very challenging task for any computer vision applications. Language-based representation of regions and the relationships in scene description or analysis for automated reasoning is very effective. So because we human beings, we always analyze the scene at a higher level, and definitely we use a language-based representation. For example, if you look at this image, right, we can describe this image with certain linguistic words, right? Mountain, a green mountain, a bright sun, right? Very beautiful tree, and very beautiful falls or like lake or a small hut. So we use a language-based representation and the relationship between those regions, okay, for understanding or describing a particular scene. Analysis for automated reasoning is very effective if you do so, but such a capability need to be incorporated into a machine. If at all, we expect machines to interpret the way we human beings interpret and analyze the scene in any computer vision applications. It's very appropriate to apply fuzzy set theory and fuzzy logic to handle uncertainty in various aspects of computer vision. When it comes to uncertainty, you have already understand, right? Maybe all of you might have already studied and understood that the probability theory and fuzzy set theories can be explored to handle uncertainty. So many researchers have already explored to some extent the applicability of fuzzy set theory in handling uncertainty, and that can be even explored and has been explored even in computer vision applications, but a lot more to study and explore. So a lot of scope and a lot of avenues are there for this particular task. Now look at this example. We have 3 images. One represents the coast, another one is a mountain, and the middle image is the combination of both. So there is an ambiguity whether to classify this scene image as a coast or a mountain. But our vision system can assign some linguistic word to define this or to give a caption to this image. But if at all we want to provide such a capability to a machine, it's not that simple. So we need to explore a lot of concepts, ideas, and that need to be incorporated into the algorithm so that machine can interpret it accordingly and appropriately, right? So this is what is the ambiguity we can come across whenever we are dealing with a machine vision or a computer vision applications. When it comes to the uncertainty about the image content, because image plays a very important role in any computer vision applications. That is the source, right? So definitely when it comes to image, we need to understand what is uncertainty in an image, right? So according to the researchers and the experts, they have mentioned that there are 3-level uncertainty about image content. The first is at the pixel level. That's what at the pre-processing level, that is a grayness ambiguity. So whenever you want to segment an image into regions, or whenever you want to detect a boundary in an image, right, or region of interest, definitely we are looking at a pixel intensity, or at a pixel level we do some processing, right? There are a lot of research articles or research work that has been carried out where they have studied the pixel level analysis, right, for identify such boundaries, right, and also for segmentation. So definitely we come across some kind of grayness ambiguity whenever we handle a pixels during pre-processing. So whether to classify this particular pixel as a block or a white or a particular category as such, right, a lighter or a brighter, little darker, a slightly darker, or something like that, because they're all natural, linguistic quantities. But how can I handle that, right? So that's what is called the grayness ambiguity. So that is the first level, that's at a pixel level during pre-processing. So the next level is region level, where whenever we want to do a segmentation, suppose if at all I want to do a segmentation of a region of interest in an image for interpretation, definitely there is a region fuzziness. Suppose if there is no clear-cut boundary, so the regions are very smooth, right? Then how can I identify a region boundary and how can I segment it? There is a region fuzziness. And when it comes to the next level, a knowledge level, a recognition and understanding, a knowledge vagueness. As I already shown an example of a coast and a mountain and an image which incorporates both, then what is my decision, right? Should I interpret that image as an ocean or a coast or a mountain, right? So then how can I understand that and how can I recognize that? So there will be a sort of vagueness in the knowledge or in the interpretation. So that is what is a very challenging task in handling a computer vision applications, right? So whenever we develop any algorithm in a computer vision, definitely we look at these 3 levels of uncertainty in an image. So now let's understand some of the points related to the sources of uncertainty. Of course, the points are self-explanatory. I will not be spending more time in interpreting those sentences, right? You can just go through it and you can understand. Projection of a 3D scene or a 2D image, right? Whenever we project a 3D scene or a 2D image, definitely it may result with some uncertainty. The setup of the illumination, the conversion of light energy into an electronic signal and digitization may be the source for uncertainty in an image. Discretization process of spatial coordinates because of the limitations of a machine, and that may lead to uncertainty. Corruption and distortion of image features during the acquisition process, that may lead to uncertainty, because whenever we capture an image, it can be a document image or any image for that matter, because of the capturing device or for some other reasons, there is a corruption and distortion of image features, and that may leads to uncertainty in the image. Lack of knowledge about the image quality. The image quality definition itself is based on human perception, what turns into a subjective parameter. For example, the image quality, the quality of an image for one application may not be appropriate for some other application, right? And also the lack of knowledge about the quality of an image which is used in any computer vision application also plays a very important role. So that lack of knowledge about the image quality is also a source of uncertainty while dealing with a computer vision applications. Imprecision in computations and vagueness in cross definitions and concepts as usual in computer vision as a contour, vertex, homogeneity region, and so on. So definitely, whenever we are defining the classes, right, and the concepts, there will be a kind of vagueness because we deal at eye level, and eye level is always carries some sort of uncertainty and vagueness, right? Very similar to that, a contour or a vertex or a homogeneity region and so on when we deal with a computer vision applications. So a knowledge about the objects in the scene can be described only in vague terms, and the output of low-level process provide a vague, conflicting, or erroneous inputs to higher-level algorithms. So definitely, if you don't interpret properly at the low level, or if you don't precisely understand the low-level concepts, and such information may be move on to the next level, and that provide vague, conflicting, and erroneous inputs to the high-level algorithms, and again that leads to an ambiguity or uncertainty, and our understanding and decision making and interpretation may also be vague and ambiguous many times, right? So we have to be very, very careful at that point of time itself. So ambiguities in interpretations of the obtained results and ill-posed questions, right? So fuzzy set theory and fuzzy logic are ideally suited for dealing with these types of uncertainty, right? It has been proved by many applications that in such kind of uncertainties or vagueness or imprecision in the data, so definitely we can think of exploring the fuzzy set theory and a fuzzy logic to effectively handle such type of uncertainty, vagueness, and imprecision in the data, so that we can provide a better system, right? And which can mimic the human interpretation and the natural intelligence. So with this, let's look at some more points related to this particular argument. Image processing techniques have been used for automating the tasks related to low and intermediate computer vision levels. As I already mentioned, any computer vision application definitely involves an image processing technique, right? And these image processing techniques have been used for automating the tasks related to low and intermediate vision levels, which we have already mentioned. Pattern recognition techniques were applied for designing algorithms capable of automating the tasks connected to or connected with high-level computer vision, right? The low-level vision, and then we move on to the intermediate or high-level vision. When it comes to high-level vision, we need to design a pattern recognition techniques or algorithms for interpreting the scene or analyzing, right, and to make a decision with the image or data, whatever we have for a computer vision applications. So rule-based systems were suitable for modeling algorithms related with low and intermediate levels of computer vision. Even some of the researchers have proved and showed to the research community that rule-based systems were suitable for modeling algorithms related to low-level and intermediate computer vision systems, because we try to some extent mimic the natural language meaning, right, or interpretation, or something like the vagueness, right? So if you use rule-based systems, so definitely we can handle low-level and intermediate-level computer vision system better, and that gives a better input to high-level computer vision application or activities. So Fuzzy logic offers numerous approaches to translate such rules and to make inferences from the rules and facts modeled similarly. And that's what we already mentioned. Whenever we think of a rule-based system, definitely fuzzy logic offers numerous approaches to translate such rules to make inferences from rules and the facts modeled accordingly. So fuzzy set theory offers one of the best overall frameworks within which to formulate a model and solve problems in a computer vision, right? Hope this statement is self-explanatory. Those who have already studied a little bit of fuzzy logic or theory can accept this statement, right? So it provides a best framework within which we can formulate and model and solve the problems in a computer vision in a natural way. So what is a fuzzy logic? Why we need to think of using a fuzzy logic for a computer vision applications, right? And that's what is the question to be answered, right? So let's see how, to some extent, or certain level of detail, how we can answer this particular question. So since science and mathematics are logical and organized, they try to fit every process and phenomena into their equations' precise rules. But the world we live in is messy, uncertain, often ambiguous, and rarely black and white. Because we have built a lot of models and applications based on a Boolean logic, because machines can understand only zeros and ones, a bistable state, right? So according to the researchers and the experts, and of course, according to our experiences in our day-to-day life, we understand that we live in a messy environment. And most of the things are uncertain, ambiguous, and rarely black and white, not very precise, but still we can manage, right? So that's what is the world we are living in. For example, when you ask a question to somebody, how are you? He says, I am fine. But we understand it. What do you mean by that, right? So whenever we are describing a weather, we say it's a very beautiful weather and a very pleasant weather and a more comfortable weather. Then we can understand. But how do you quantify that, right? Don't you think that it's ambiguous, but still we understand? I cannot just describe that only with a black and white information, but there is something beyond that. So that is what is the fact and the reality need to be addressed whenever we are designing a computer vision application. So the fuzzy set theory and logic is based on the notion of relative membership grades and inspired by a process of human perception and cognition that are uncertain, imprecise, partially true, or lacking in sharp boundaries. If at all I want to say a person is tall, or if at all I want to say this image is very beautiful, how can I capture the uncertainties in that particular statement? So definitely a fuzzy logic gives you a solution to that through a relative membership grade, right? Someone is tall, say for example, a person with 6 feet, you call him as a tall. Then what about a person with 5.9 feet, right? Would you like to call him as a tall, or are going to put some other label for that, right? So such kind of uncertainties can be effectively modeled and can be handled with the help of a fuzzy logic through a membership grades, and that's what is the basis, right? So the fuzzy logic is inspired by the process of human perception and recognition that are uncertain, imprecise, partially true, or lacking in sharp boundaries. So whenever we do not have a sharp boundaries, definitely we deal with the unsharp as a smooth boundaries. So the fuzzy logic is the best technique to handle such kind of smooth or unsharp boundaries, right? So in fuzzy logic, 0 and 1 are extreme cases of truth or fact and encompass various states of truth in between, right? So because when it comes to a Boolean logic, we have just 0 and 1. There's a black and white, yes or no, right? An element belongs to a set or not. If it belongs to a set, its membership value is 1. Not belong to the set, the membership value is 0. But in reality, in a general sense, it is not true, because an element belongs to a set with certain degree of membership, right? So a fuzzy logic, right, through its membership grade can assign a certain degree of belongingness of an element to a set, and that is the value between 0 and 1. Any value between 0 and 1, it can be a 0.1, 0.15, 0.2, 0.35, etc. So any value between 0 and 1, and that speaks about the truth, right? And that's what is actually fuzzy logic. So fuzzy logic seems to closer to the way our brains actually work, and it is essential to development of human-like capabilities for AI. It has already been proved by the many researchers that if at all we want to develop a human-like capabilities for a artificial intelligence or a computer vision applications, definitely the choice is a fuzzy logic or fuzzy set theory, right? So the basis of fuzzy logic is also the basis of human communication, because fuzzy logic is built on the structures of qualitative description used in everyday language. The qualitative, as I already mentioned, right? I am fine, I am good, this is beautiful, this is very delicious, right? This is fantastic. So we use such kind of words in our day-to-day communication, right? They're all qualitative in nature, not a quantitative, right? If at all we want to capture such a qualitative information, right, in terms of features, right, or at a machine level, then definitely we need a model, right? And that model can be a fuzzy logic or fuzzy set theory concepts. So with this, now just look at some information to understand. Right? So now look at this example, which can give you some information regarding what exactly is the fuzzy logic, right? Whenever we consider a statement like, is it cold? A question, right? In a Boolean logic, I can say yes or no, right? But it may not be true, because sometimes I want to answer that question apart from just say yes or no. I want to say very much, a little cold, a very less cold. So whenever we are interacting with a doctor, whenever a doctor asks a question to the patient, right, then the patient cannot just say only yes or no. He has to describe with his linguistic words, right? Okay, so definitely such words will have like very much cold, a little cold, very less, etc. Then how can I understand that? How can I model that? So the fuzzy logic is the answer to that question, right? Is it cold? Yes, very much. Then you can assign a membership value of 0.9 to very much. If it's a little, you assign 0.25 membership value. It's very less, say assign 0.1. So it is possible to assign such a partial truth to the fact through a fuzzy logic, and that is what is the motivation, right? So when it comes to fuzzy logic architecture, we have the 4 important components. One is called the fuzzifier, right? So we take the crisp input and we fuzzify. So in many cases, the input can be a crisp, or sometimes input may be fuzzified, right? So if it's a crisp input, we have to fuzzify through a membership functions. Many membership functions have been proposed, and you can also think of coming out with your own membership function which is suitable for your application, right? So we fuzzify and we get a fuzzified input. With that fuzzified input, we have to build an intelligence, right? A rule-based system, right? Where the intelligence is captured in terms of rules. Okay, for example, whenever I want to make a decision, how can I make a decision? For example, if at all I want to cross a road, then I have to make a decision whether the signal is green or not. Suppose, let us assume that I'm in front of a traffic signal. I want to make a decision whether I want to move or I have to wait. First, I have to look at the signal, right? If it is red, I have to stop. If it's green, I can move. If it's yellow, I have to wait, right? And even if there is no traffic signal as such, if at all I want to cross a busy road, I have to do a lot of decisions. I have to apply a lot of rules, right? Whether vehicles are coming, what is the speed at which a particular vehicle is coming, right? Whether I can move by the time that vehicle reaches this particular point. So a lot of decisions I have to make. So those decisions are in the form of rules, and those rules makes an intelligence, right? So with that intelligence, I can make a decision, right? And then I can take an action. So when all such rules are put together, right, each of the rules will give certain fact with certain degree, and I have to assimilate all those rules, and finally I want to come out with one decision, and that's what is called a crisp output. So I have to aggregate all those rules, and I should understand with that intelligence, and then I have to defuzzify, right? Ultimately the decision is whether I have to move or I have to wait, right? Whether I have to cross the road or not, and that's what is the crisp output. But that crisp output involves a lot of uncertainty, right? How can I do that? That is definitely with the help of rules, right? So that's what the fuzzy logic architecture. So any fuzzy logic architecture, whether it's for a control system or computer vision applications or pattern recognition applications or image processing applications, for anything for that matter, you can definitely think of this architecture, which consists of 4 components: the fuzzifier, the rules, the intelligence, and also a defuzzifier, right? So with this level of detail for a fuzzy logic, I hope you can understand some of the concepts which I present related to this fuzzy logic, right? If you are not aware of this, I suggest the participants, right, if you're interested, you just go through some of the references related to this fuzzy logic for beginners, and you can easily understand that. And with that knowledge, you can definitely understand any of the concepts related to a fuzzy logic explored for a computer vision, pattern recognition, image processing applications, right? Okay. So with this, now let's answer some of the questions in this context. Fuzzy techniques in image processing, right? So fuzzy techniques are powerful tools for knowledge representation and processing. We have already supported this statement with a lot of explanations or other statements in the previous slides, right? So in the context of image processing at a low level, right, activity, now let us take a question: whether a pixel should become darker or brighter. For example, whenever you want to do a contrast enhancement or an image enhancement activity at a low level, right, or at a pixel level. Now the question arises to you whether I want to make a particular pixel darker or a brighter. Then how you are going to handle this uncertainty, right? Are you going to put a threshold? For example, if the pixel intensity is, say, for example, 150, then should I make it as a darker, or should I make it as a brighter? Then how can you make a decision? And that's what is called the uncertainty or vagueness, right? Whether a pixel should become a darker or a brighter is a linguistic decision, right, or an active, but that need to be effectively handled, right, whenever you do a low level image processing activity. Where is the boundary between the two image segments, right? So whenever there is an overlapping region in a scene, for example, one object is overlapped with some other object, right? Then how can you identify the boundary? There is an ambiguity, uncertainty. How you are going to answer that question, right? So you can think of fuzzy logic techniques. Whether the texture image is a coarse or not, you want to make a decision, right? Whether it's a coarse or not, then how can you do it? The art image is somewhat harmonious or very harmonious. How can you assign a membership to these classes, right? Somewhat harmonious, how you can describe it? Very harmonious, what is the membership value, right? So this is what is the ambiguity, right, which need to be addressed. Then texture image is little coarse or not very coarse, right? I want to classify. Then fuzziness is intrinsic quality of images. We already mentioned there are 3 levels of fuzziness in image content. So fuzziness is intrinsic quality of images. Outcome of most imaging devices is fuzzy because of that. Right? So fuzzy techniques can manage the vagueness and ambiguity effectively, even at this level of image processing. Okay. So with this, now Let's look at the block diagram of low and intermediate level computer vision activities through a fuzzy logic approach, right? So we have an input image, okay, any type of image. So most of you might have already understand, right? I have studied what is processing when it comes to an image, right? So as we already mentioned, it can be a noise removal or contrast enhancement or a segmentation, right? Okay, any such activities can be considered as a pre-processing, right? You do a pre-processing. And then you do a fuzzification. It's a fuzzy inference system. It's a knowledge base. And it's a fuzzy set theory, right? And with this inference system, which is based on the knowledge through fuzzification, we build an inference system with the support of fuzzy set theory, and with this we can make a decision through a defuzzification, and we produce the output image. And this is what is the block diagram of low and intermediate level computer vision activities through a fuzzy logic approach. Okay, now let's take an example of image contrast enhancement as one of the low level computer vision activities. Okay, why? Because the contrast is a major factor influencing the image quality, right? You can take any computer vision applications for that matter, right? It can be self-driving cars, or it can be any other computer vision automation applications, right? The quality of image plays a very important role, right? So the contrast is a major factor which influences the image quality, right? Okay, so the contrast enhancement is one of the important image enhancement techniques in a spatial domain. Of course, a lot of techniques have been proposed at a spatial domain and also at a frequency domain, but here the contrast enhancement is one of the important image enhancement techniques in the spatial domain. So image contrast enhancement technique is widely applied in the field of image processing. Okay, I think you can find plenty of papers, and many image processing applications definitely might have addressed this particular issue before they apply the next level activity, right? So image contrast enhancement technique is widely applied in field of image processing. Okay. So contrast enhancement is usually applied to input images to obtain a superior visual representation of the image by transforming original pixel values using a transform function, right? Now let's see why this contrast enhancement is very important. Okay, because if I don't have a quality image, and if I do a feature extraction, the features extracted may contain some noise, and that may lead to wrong analysis and interpretation of the images, and finally because of that there's a wrong decision, right? For example, let us assume that I have an automated tool which can capture the number plates of a moving vehicle, right? If the image is not of good quality, then my interpretation will go wrong, right? I may interpret the number 7 as 1 or 1 as 7, right? 8 as 3 or 3 as 8, and ultimately our interpretation recognition is somewhere gone wrong, right? And that's how the contrast enhancement is usually applied to input images to obtain a superior visual representation of the image by transforming original pixel values using a transform function, and you will see how it can be done with an example fuzzy technique, right? So poor and non-uniform lighting conditions of the object and non-linearity of the imaging systems produces vagueness in the acquired image. Now let's look at, for example, a vehicle is moving in front of us. I want to capture the information about that vehicle's movement, right? Maybe because of lighting conditions, that image might not have been captured properly. Maybe there is a reflection, or because of poor lighting conditions, certain part of the image capture may not be clearly visible, right? And also because of focusing on that image at a distance through a camera, there will be angle variations and perspective distortions may happen, and that may introduces the vagueness in the acquired image. And all these things need to be addressed before we move on to the next level of image processing, right? And that's where the challenge is there, right? Okay, so we need to address such a challenge with the help of the concepts of a fuzzy logic and a fuzzy theory to some extent possible. Now let's look at an example of a contrast enhancement using fuzzy intensification operation. There are a lot of techniques have been proposed, and this is one very interesting paper which I found. I thought of sharing with you all because it's a simple idea, right, and easy to understand, particularly for the beginners, right? Now let's look at what exactly this means and how it works, right? We have already defined what is a contrast enhancement. Now let's look at how this can be done with a fuzzy intensification operation. Okay. Look at this input image block. So this is the pixel intensities of a gray scale image, right? 17, 19, 23. I think you are already familiar, and you have understood this idea when you are working with image processing applications, right? Or when you have studied image processing. So given this input image block, I want to do a contrast enhancement. How can I do it? First, I want to convert this image, right, where we have a crisp intensity values into a fuzzy, right? I can define a fuzzy membership function, something like this is a triangular membership function, right? Okay, a triangular membership function where the y-axis has the membership value 0, 0.5 and 1, because we already mentioned that the membership values can be between 0 and 1. And in the x-axis, we have the pixel intensities from 0 to 255, but here I have shown only the scale corresponds to this image block. So minimum value is 17 and maximum is 65. I have shown only these intensity values in this diagram to make it simple and more clear, right? Now let's call this as A and this as B and this is X. How can I define a membership function which can transform this crisp input value into a fuzzy value? I mean to say, I want to assign a membership value for each of these pixel intensities in terms of their neighborhood. Okay. So what is the degree of intensity? I'm just fuzzifying it so that I can do the next level operations in a very comfortable and effective way. So, for example, if I give 17, if I apply a formula here, right? Look at here, A is known to us, B is known to us, A is 17, B is 65, now X is 36. Now I want to find out what is the membership value for 36, right? Now if I input 36 here, if I calculate, I get a membership value that's approximately 0.5, right? That means for every crisp value that's a gray level intensity, I calculate its membership value within the neighborhood of a 3x3 image block, and that's what I call fuzzify. The crisp value is converted into a real value. Now look at here, right? According to this definition, according to this membership function, according to this input block, if I fuzzify, I get this image block. This is what is called the fuzzified image block. So once I get the fuzzified image block, then I can apply intensification operator. Right. Again, this intensification operator is by the Lofty-Zadeh, right, the creator of the fuzzy logic, and he suggested this intensification operator, right? That is the membership value mu A of X means the membership value or the degree of belongingness of this element to a particular set. That's what is the intensity of pixel or pixel intensity or grayscale intensity, right? And that is mu of X. X can be any of this value, and that is given by this formula, right? Suppose if the intensity is in 0 and 0.5, look at here, right? Many are in between 0 and 0.5. For example, this 0, 0.04, 0.13, 0.33, 0.25, 0.21, all these pixels intensity of belongingness are between 0 and 0.5. Suppose if that is the case, you use this formula to enhance, intensify, right? Suppose if the pixel intensities in terms of the degree of membership value lies between 0.5 and 1, something like this, you apply this formula. Right? By doing so, you can intensify the image, right? Now look at here. This is what is the fuzzified input, sorry, fuzzified output. I apply intensification this formula, I get intensified output. Now look at this, right? This output. Now you can see some changes here, right? 0.04 has become 0.003, 0.13 has become 0.03, and 0.33 has become 2.17, and 0.25 has become 0.125, and again look at this, right? Some modifications happens after having performed this particular process. Again, once you get this modified and intensified output, now again you can apply the inverse operation. So now I get the pixel intensity. I am just converting this membership values back to the intensity, the pixel intensity, and further I can use this formula, right? The same B minus A and this alpha is intensified intensity values, right? That's what the membership values you apply here, and then with this formula you will get back to the intensity, right? Now look at here, 65 minus 17 multiplied by 00, that gives 17. So this 17 is as it is, right? And then 65 minus 17 into 0.003, the second value will be 17. Earlier it was 19, then that becomes 70, right? 23 has become 19, and 33 has become, right, 217 has become 27. So likewise, each of these membership values are used again to convert back to the intensity values, and this is the image output here, right? So this is what is the original input. After intensification through a fuzzy intensification operation, you get the intensified output block, right? So this is quite different from this, right? You can notice that in terms of intensity values. So that's how you can perform the intensification, right? Or image contrast enhancement, right? Now look at this. So this is what is the example, right? The contrast enhancement using fuzzy intensification operation. This one is the original image, and B is the contrast enhanced image using fuzzy approach, that is using intensification operation, and C is the histogramized image, and D is the histogram equalized image. I think you can see the quality of output produced, right? And of course, for the fuzzification, you can apply any membership function, right? Okay, so I just use the triangular membership function. You can try the Gaussian membership function and other types of membership functions. I can just show you some example membership functions in the later part of my presentation, right? And then there's another output. Now look at this, right? The quality obtained by this fuzzy approach is quite, right, pleasing when compared to other techniques, right? So this is another approach, that is a fuzzy role-based approach. I will be I will quickly go through this because we have less time. I need to cover remaining points within the stipulated time. So another technique for a contrast enhancement is through a fuzzy rule-based approach. How we can do it? I just summarized the process in terms of these simple statements, right? Extract the red, green, and blue planes of the color image. For each plane, execute the following steps. That is, if a pixel is dark, then make it darker. If a pixel is gray, then make it mid-gray. If the pixel is bright, then make it brighter. So these are the linguistic rules, right? Like we, the human beings, think and we perform certain actions, right? So how can I incorporate these concepts into a machine understanding algorithm, right? Okay. In third step, concatenate the enhanced red, green, and blue planes to obtain the contrast enhanced image. What you do is take each RGB channel separately, apply these fuzzy rules, and get the enhanced channels and combine those channels, and then get the contrast enhanced color image. Right now, the output membership functions are like this. For darker, it's 0. For mid gray, it is 127. For brighter, it is a 255. And this is for a one channel, right? Red, green, or blue. So you apply independently for all the 3 channels, aggregate, and finally come out with the enhanced color image. So these are the input membership functions, right? Again, if I want to go into the depth, that's a separate topic of discussion. Just to understand this input membership function and output membership function, and to the depth, the how this input to output is mapped. If at all I want to go in depth with a lot of examples, then it may take a lot of time. But at this point of time, I just share with you certain level of detail, right? Because of time constraint. So the input membership function you can define, and this again the experts can decide, or based on the application, this input membership functions can be designed, right? From 0 to 50, it's 100% dark. From 50 to 127, it's a mix of dark and a gray, right? I mean, any pixel with this range of intensity can be called as a dark as well as a gray. That's what is the ambiguity, is uncertainty, right? Similarly, the pixel intensity is between 127 to 200. Again, it's a mix of gray and a brighter pixels. Again, from 200 to 255, I can say 100% bright, right? So that you can decide depending upon the application, and you can do even some trial and error method, and you can decide and partition the input space into various fuzzy spaces, right? Dark, gray, and bright, and even you can include many more, right, segments in between, right, according to the application. So with this, the output membership function is a single membership function, darker, mid-gray, and brighter. Now, any pixel intensity, when it is input to the system, that is specified according to this function, and after intensification, it should be transformed into this output membership function. Right? So it maps from input to output, and then the contrast will be enhanced. So what is the formula? Right, dark of I mean, when I give the input pixel intensity, I want to find out what is the degree of belongingness of the pixel with respect to dark, gray, and also bright. So, for example, if I consider the number, any intensity value between 0 and 50, it's 100% dark, the membership value is 1. Suppose if I consider the pixel intensity 127, it's 100% gray, right? For example, if I consider any value in between, right, then it has partial belongingness. Say, for example, if I consider 100 that belongs to both dark and as well as a gray, then what is the degree of belongingness of this pixel intensity 100 to the fuzzy set dark and the fuzzy set gray that I need to calculate, right? And that is through this membership function, right? And once I calculate that, I will get this membership value, right? And with this formula, I can convert the input intensity value into the corresponding output intensity values through some enhancement, right? Now I have considered an example here. For example, if I consider 50, right? Now look at here. Suppose if I consider 50 dark, okay? So the membership value for gray and bright are 0, right? And that's what is shown here, right? So by applying this for this pixel intensity 50, the output will be 0 only. That is, it's a darker, 100% darker. For example, if I input the pixel intensity 75, we calculate the membership according to this membership function and calculate the membership value, and this what is the membership value, right? Okay, so that's what 0.675 for a dark, 0.325 for a brighter, and 0 for gray, and 0 for brighter. But by using the corresponding this formula, right, you can calculate it, and that becomes 41, right? So after intensification through this fuzzy rule based approach, the pixel intensity 75 has been transformed into 41, right? And similarly, you consider other intensity values, right? So for example, given this block, image block of a 3x3 image block from a particular image, right? So you can apply this fuzzy rule based approach according to this input membership function and output membership function, and by applying that, you will be able to get the intensified intensity values, right? So this is the original 3x3 block from an image, say this one. for example. And now, after enhancement through this fuzzy rule-based approach, intensified or enhanced block, right? And if you do so for all part of the image, then this image has been transformed into this image. Is some significant enhancement when you compare these two images, right? Maybe you can look at this, right? This part of the image, look at this, right? It has been enhanced. That's how the fuzzy rule-based approach can be used to enhance the intensity of an image, right? So this is just an example, and a lot of work has been proposed by a lot of researchers, and you can try, and even you can incorporate your ideas and the creative ideas, and you can transform the poor quality images into a best image, right? And that is how a fuzzy technique can be applied for such a low-level image processing activity. So these are some of the fuzzy membership functions: angle, trapezoidal, Gaussian, or a singleton. Okay, you can explore any of these membership functions for converting an input crisp value into the corresponding fuzzy output, right? Or fuzzified output. So with this, so another very interesting application is the boundary detection representation. So boundaries carry one of the most important image information, because whenever you want to interpret the scene for a computer vision applications, we need to identify a particular region of interest, and that essentially involves detection of a boundary or a contour of the region of interest. So boundaries carries one of the most important image information. So the boundaries indicate the location of the objects and describe their shape as well. And that is the reason why this low-level activity plays a very important role in computer vision applications, right? How we can do it? In an ideal image, edges corresponds to object boundaries. That is familiar to all of us. So edge detection segments the image into meaningful regions. So a lot of edge detection techniques have already been proposed, like canny edge detector, Sobel edge operator, right, and many other popular edge detection techniques. And even in the literature, you can also find the fuzzy edge detection operators, which can effectively detect the edges even in a noise and a smooth boundaries which are ambiguous in nature, right? So the issue then is the definition of what constitutes an edge is rather vague, heuristic, and even subjective. Hence, conventional edge detection techniques may fail in such cases. So definitely there is a scope for us to propose a new edge detection technique which incorporates fuzzy technique, so that which can handle vagueness and which can definitely subjective and can provide an efficient and effective results. With this, researchers have described the algorithm for edge detection wherein image vagueness is taken into account. So these are some of the literature papers which I have just mentioned here. You please found interesting to you, and if it's related to your research, okay, so you can find a lot of interesting ideas here which can be explored further for handling this task. All right, okay. Now another very popular algorithm, all of you might have heard, that fuzzy Siemens clustering algorithm, and this algorithm has been explored very well by many researchers, right, for boundary detection and also for a segmentation. So I don't have time to explain this complete algorithm, because explanation for this algorithm with example itself may take more than 1 hour. If at all I want to explain each and every part of this algorithm, right? But I suggest the participants who are interested or who have already studied a little bit, or some of you might have already implemented it, right? So this is scope for you to further explore some novel ideas, right, for adopting this fuzzy Siemens clustering algorithm for detecting the boundaries of a very challenging vague images, right? Even you can explore intentionalistic fuzzy concepts for detecting the boundaries, right? So that's what is the suggestion. So I'm not able to explain this at this point of time because of the time constraints. For this, in case if you have any offline queries, right, I can accept and I can help you to understand this and further explore this for boundary detection and representation. So if you go to the literature, you can find many works have been explored this particular algorithm for various kinds of boundary detection and representation techniques, particularly in a very challenging and vague images, right? So this what is the examples from one of the recent works, fuzzy logic technique. So comparison of segmentation results on real standard images with this Lena. So you can see this in a Gonzalez book. And cameraman, this is the virtual images, right? And also FCM results here, and another enhanced FCM results penalty term, and this one. Look here, right? The results are quite appealing, right? Are also very interesting and more effective. So that's how there is a scope for us to explore further this fuzzy clustering algorithm for such a challenging image segmentation task by fine-tuning the algorithm or by incorporating new ideas into that algorithm. So there is a lot of scope for you to understand and work accordingly, right? So with this, characterizing a pattern in terms of values extracted from its shape, a texture, or a color properties is another very interesting step in computer vision applications. Okay, so that constitutes the intermediate level computer vision task as well. It's important step in any pattern recognition application, as Sir has already pointed out, that we need to characterize in terms of some values. We call it as features, right? So whether you can use a shape information for extracting a features or texture information or a color properties, it doesn't matter. So depending upon the application, you can explore any of these properties, or you can even extract all these properties and you can fuse them for a better analysis and for better interpretation as well. So it's an important step in any pattern recognition application. So fuzzy features captures uncertainty measurement to some extent. So that's what is the main idea here, right? Now, quickly let me explain you how these functions can be used to extract fuzzy features. Right? So, different types of fuzzy memory functions can be explored to extract different fuzzy features. Here, I quickly explore some simple technique or a fuzzy membership function to extract a fuzzy features. So look at here, the flower images. Look at this, and you can understand some sort of uncertainty or vagueness in this, because all corresponds to same image, shape variations. So this uncertainty whenever you want to interpret this image. Similarly, look at the apple, the shapes, the texture, everything keeps on changing, but they belong to the same class. Such kind of imprecision, uncertainty, or vagueness in the object whenever you are designing a computer vision application for automation, right? So that's what is the challenge, and that is the scope for any researcher to explore further these concepts for a very efficient and effective machine vision or a computer vision algorithms. Okay, so another example of leaf images. Look at the challenging nature of this leaf, right? Okay, so with this, now look at this example, right? How can we extract the fuzzy features? So look at this leaf. You can segment, you can take the contour, you can apply any technique to extract the contour automatically, as we already mentioned it, right? So then you can find out a reference axis to confirm the starting point here, and then from this point you segment the entire shape curve into equal number of pixels, right? Segments with equal number of pixels, right? Depending upon the number of features, and so you can perform the feature points detection for a shape feature extraction. So here we are going to consider only the contour, and hence we are considering only the shape information, right? So these are the points which are considered for extracting the shape features. Now, once you get those points, now that entire curve is now converted into only points in a 2D space. Now, with these points, you form a triangulation. Like, take the extreme point of this axis and that forms a triangle, something like this. So once you get a triangle of this, you can equate this with a fuzzy equilateral triangle, something like this. And now, by using the formula, right, as suggested by one of the fuzzy book, right? With this, we can calculate the theta 1, theta 2, theta 3 by using this formula, because you can measure the distance d1, d3. Look at here, d1, d2, d3, and you can use this. And using this formula, you can compute the theta 1, theta 2, theta 3, and by using a membership function, you can approximate this with a fuzzy equilateral triangle. With this, and with this, you can extract fuzzy features from this A, right? And those fuzzy features are something like this. Right? There are k number of features, 10, 20, 50, anything as such. And these are the fuzzy features. This indicates that one of the triangle, right, is 20%, 22% resembles an equilateral triangle, right? So I assign certain degree of membership, and that's how I capture the uncertainty, right? By equating or approximating a fuzzy equilateral triangle with a fuzzy membership function, something like this. Okay, so that's how, once you extract the features, then you can go with subsequent pattern recognition techniques for interpreting or recognizing that particular object. So the same thing can also be applied for a texture, and this is the model for a texture description. And again, a triangle membership function has been used, and the input block, apply the triangle membership function, convert this crisp intensity values into fuzzy intensity values, and then you go to the next level process. You convert this into this. You can use this formula, fuzzy triangular membership function formula, and you can convert this input to fuzzy. And then using this, right, you can perform this transformation, and this is what is called the LBP. Those who have studied image processing and texture features, you have already understood what is meant by LBP features, right? So with this, you will be able to get an LBP number, and I call this as a fuzzy triangular LBP number, right? So now I consider a texture image, I extract the fuzzy features, fuzzy LBP features, and now characterize the image in terms of fuzzy texture features, right? And this is an example of a leaf image. Now look at a kind of vagueness in the image itself in terms of intensity, right? And that can be captured with the help of a fuzzy features, right? With this triangular membership function, and you're going to characterize, and then you will get an histogram, something like this. And this is what is the representation for this. Okay. Now similarly, you can explore a trapezoidal membership function. Again, input image block, apply this formula, and that corresponds to this is a triangular trapezoidal membership function, and you will get a fuzzified output, right? And again, with fuzzified output, you go to the next step, right? Apply a basic LBP technique on this fuzzified input, and you'll get this transformation. And from this, you can calculate a fuzzy trapezoidal LBP number, right? We have just used one more step in between, so that this LBP works on fuzzified input, and hence we get a fuzzy trapezoidal LBP number. And by doing so, we can effectively capture the vagueness, and we can effectively represent the image. So that's what a leaf image and the corresponding fuzzy trapezoidal representation of this histogram representation of this image. Okay, so this is how we can explore the feasibility of fuzzy techniques, right, for a feature extraction and subsequently for representation, and that can be used at the next level for classification or interpretation or analysis. Again, this fuzzy trapezoidal membership function can also be used for matching, right? So because whenever you want to perform analysis, we may have to do certain kind of comparison, right? Okay, we have to extract the features, we have to perform some comparison, and then we have to make certain decisions. So in order to do that, we need to establish between the objects, right? And that can also be performed with the help of a fuzzy trapezoidal membership function with this, right? So, but it requires some more details to understand this. I've given some examples here, right? So an object can be, the object uncertainty can be captured in terms of an interval valued feature, something like this, reference. And whenever there's a test, right? Now look at this, the test sample need to be compared with this reference according to this triangular membership function, right? And then you can compute how one object is similar to another object, or to what extent the one object is similar to another object, and that is very important for us to make certain decisions for interpretation or for analysis. Okay, right? You please, it's a self-explanatory. It, okay, and try to understand. If you have any clarifications as such, I think I can clarify in an offline. So with this, now I just give you some ideas about how this fuzzy techniques has already been explored in a computer vision application like a self-driving cars, and now we are all talking about driverless vehicles or unmanned vehicles. So how these kind of applications can be thought of with the support of computer vision applications or algorithms, and that too with an integration of fuzzy techniques. So decision making often includes driven binary computing that open the door to systems for machine learning to self-driving cars that mirror the way humans wrestle with the uncertainties and ambiguities of life. Okay, so this what is the components of a fuzzy logic system, which has already been discussed. These are the input memory functions. So we need to capture the speed and the range of view. If you want to automatically control a moving vehicle with a computer vision applications, definitely there are sensors which capture the information like the speed, range of view, right? So that need to be captured. So this one input variable, range of view, is another variable, and now we define a linguistic partition or variables like a low speed, average speed, and high speed. So we human beings, right, handle that in terms of these linguistic variables, quantitative variables, okay, low speed, average speed, or high speed. We never speak in terms of 20 kilometers per hour or 60 kilometers per hour or 100 kilometers per hour. We never speak like that. We say the vehicle is moving slow, the vehicle is moving with average speed, or the vehicle is moving with a high speed. So that's what is the linguistic way of describing some objects of an object, and that's how this fuzzy logic mimics the human intelligence or natural way of interaction. Right? So that's how the input speed can be partitioned into a low speed, average speed, and the high speed, overlapping trapezoidal and triangle memory functions. And similarly, the range of view can be low, average, and high. Low range, average, or high. Again, you can define and you can partition accordingly. So again, the road, okay, whether it's a road is a rough, average, or a smooth, and these are the parameters. And throttle, okay, with this we can able to decide whether the brake needs to be applied soft, average, or hard, and whether the throttle should be soft, average, or hard. So here, look at this: the speed, range of view, and the road are considered as the input parameters, which are described in terms of linguistic variables, right? Like low, average, and high, rough, average, and smooth, and that input value, which are described in terms of linguistic, right, variable, need to be processed, and accordingly the vehicle need to be controlled. That's how the throttle, again, soft and hard, and also soft, average, and hard. That's the brake. How can you apply the brake? Suppose if the vehicle is moving at a faster speed, high speed, right? If the road is rough immediately, right? Maybe at the next few tens or hundreds of meters, then how can you apply the brake? The brake should be soft, average, and hard, and the throttle should be soft, average, and hard. So all these decisions can be made at this point of time, and that is what is linguistic nature, right? And that is definitely possible with the help of fuzzy logic and fuzzy techniques, right? And these are some of the rules. So in this example, 10 rules have been defined, like for inputs, speed, range of view, and road quality. Outputs are the brake and the throttle, and this is what is the experience, right? With the ground truth or with the experts, right? Interaction. So these inputs, outputs, or the rules are defined, right? So once these rules are defined, then we have to map that into a particular rule. For example, if speed is high, range of view is low, and road quality is rough, then brake is average. That's what is the rule. Okay, because look at here, the second rule: the speed is high, range of view is low, road quality is rough, then brake is average, throttle not applied. So this is the inference, and this is the knowledge derived out of the fuzzy rules, which are very similar to the human reasoning, right? By incorporating this knowledge, or this knowledge is converted into rules, and these rules are converted into the actual output, right? And that's how there are 12 rules, and all this what is the generalization, visualization of these rules. All these rules are aggregated, and this aggregator then will be subject to the defuzzifier, and then you can make a decision. That's what, whether to apply a brake or not, and whether the brake need to be applied soft, average, or hard, and whether throttle should be soft, average, or hard. So that's what the decision finally, and that's what is the defuzzification, right? And now look at here. This is the fuzzy rule, and that's mapped onto the fuzzy sets. Okay. Now this what is the partial truth. Okay, the rule will produce this fact of the truth, the partial truth. So each rule may produce different degree of truthness, and all those facts are aggregated like this, and then this much is to be defuzzified, and that is what is the final decision to be taken, right? And this how we can think of incorporating a fuzzy technique for such kind of driving, driverless vehicles, which definitely involves computer vision applications, right? And also a fuzzy technique. And this what is an example of defuzzification. Again, the defuzzification topic itself will take much time to discuss. So maybe some of you might have already studied, and if not, if you are interested, I think you can study and you can understand. And later, when you go back to these topics, I'm 100% sure that you will definitely understand these ideas. Okay. So with this, some of the advantages of fuzzy logic, to sum it up, the structure of fuzzy logic systems is easy and understandable. Fuzzy logic is widely used for commercial and practical purposes. It helps you control machines and also consumer products. Not offer accurate reasoning, but the only acceptable reasoning. We should know it. It helps you to deal with uncertainty in engineering. Most are mostly robust, as no precise inputs are required. It can easily be modified to improve or alter system performance. It provides a most effective solution to a complex issue. Some of the limitations of the fuzzy logic are fuzzy logic is not always accurate. So the results are perceived based on assumption, so it may not be widely accepted for some applications where a very precise results are expected. Okay, because we human beings are not that precise while making a decision, right? But in some scientific applications, even we expect a more precision. In such cases, we have to see whether this technique can be applied or not. Then validation and verification of fuzzy knowledge-based system needs with hardware. So setting exact fuzzy rules and membership functions is a difficult task which requires a lot of expertise in that particular modeling, right? Whether it can be an image processing application or a mechanical engineering or automobile engineering and whatever it may be. So a domain expertise and a knowledge plays a very important role in defining the fuzzy rules and also the membership functions, right? But there is a lot of scope, particularly for a computer vision community, so that we can always have a wide varieties of tasks and a challenging task related to computer vision, right? And we can always explore the different rules, right? And also the membership functions, and we can see the performance of the design algorithm, right, at various levels, whether it can be a low-level function or an intermediate level computer vision function or high-level computer vision function. So at all levels, we can explore the possibility of all these things. With this, in conclusion, a computer vision, an AI technology that allows computers to understand and label images, is now used in convenience stores, driverless car testing, daily medical diagnostics, and in monitoring the health of crops and also livestock. And that's what is the trend today, and that's what is the recent developments we can see, right, in the society with the advancement of science and technology, right? An abstract level, or at the abstract level, the goal of computer vision problem is to use the observed image data to infer something about the world. That's what we normally does of the computer vision applications. One of the reasons why computer vision is challenging is that when machines see images, they see them as numbers, represent individual pixels, whereas humans perceive photos as objects in a highly visual and intuitive manner, right? So as I already mentioned that whenever you are interpreting an image, you never look at what is the intensity of a particular pixel, right? But we collectively consider that intensity and the gray level, and that's what is the eye level perception. And because with that information, we are describing that object, a very beautiful object or a very beautiful picture, and excellent or something like that, right? So they're not just with only the intensity values of the pixels or at the low level, right? But we human beings will make a decision at the high level, and that is what need to be mimicked, right? And that's what is actually a very challenging task. So mapping a low level content to a high level content or for interpretation or for understanding. So every computer vision will crawl with uncertainty that makes management a significant problem to be considered and solved when trying for automated systems for scene analysis and interpretation. So the growth within the use of fuzzy set theory in computer vision is keeping pace with the use of more complex algorithms addressed to solve problems arising from image vagueness. So this is what we have already discussed in the previous points. The normal natural linguistic capabilities, high-level computer vision, it is very appropriate place for applying a fuzzy sets because high-level computer vision so definitely calls with certain uncertainty because we deal with uncertainty in our natural intelligence. So because of that, it is an appropriate place for applying a fuzzy sets for many high-level computer vision applications, right? So there's a lot of scope for us to explore this to a next level. So with this, here are some of the references just for information, but you can find many good references and recent articles on fuzzy logic, fuzzy theory, where the people have explored the fuzzy techniques for pattern recognition, image processing, and in general, computer vision applications. So this only a few to name. So with this, I conclude my talk by quoting these famous and powerful statements by the great researchers. Research is to see what everybody else has seen and to think what nobody else has thought, by Albert Gairogi. Another very powerful statement by Pedro Domingo of University of Washington is machine learning can't get something from nothing. What it does is get more from less. I think these are a very powerful statements which gives a lot of meaning and which are the source of motivation for us to carry out our research in the field which we are interested in, and we can find a lot of avenues and the scope for exploring our ideas and creative thoughts, okay, to come out with a very interesting application which can definitely address most of the scientific and societal problems in our day-to-day life. So with this great words from the great researchers, I wind up the session. Right, if you have any questions, so you can ask questions, right? So with this, Madam.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much for this stimulating and engaging session, sir. As many participants have rightly mentioned, it was very informative. And we have a few questions, sir.
Yes, madam.
The first questions with the by a research person called Tejo. They have they want to know whether these fuzzy techniques can be applied for the image in the documents.
Yeah, definitely, madam. Because again, when it comes to document image processing, a lot of low-level tasks or image processing tasks need to be performed. Even at the high level, can also be tasks can also be done. maybe even a handwritten text recognition in any language for that matter. And also a lot of other challenges in document images can be effectively addressed with the help of fuzzy logic techniques, because definitely they do have some sort of uncertainty, vagueness, right? And that can be effectively captured if you formulate the appropriate fuzzy rules or the fuzzy algorithms. So definitely it can be taken up. I think you can find some of the recent works in the direction, and with that, and you will get some idea in the direction. And with those ideas and having understood the very essential and the core concept of fuzzy logic, right, and related image processing concept, and 100% sure that there is a scope for you to explore those ideas for a better output in even in a document, images and text, or whatever it may be in general.
Thank you, sir. So one more question from Deepa Dinesh. What is the difference between classical set and fuzzy set?
Okay, so actually, because fuzzy set theory and concepts itself is a separate field which requires a lot of studies for the people who are not aware of it, or for the beginners. So actually, that's what I mentioned in the beginning itself, that this lecture has been prepared keeping in mind the participants know some knowledge about the fuzzy theory and computer vision. Okay, so here the classical set theory, as I already mentioned in the beginning, that it assigns a membership value of 0 or 1. For example, if at all I want to say a person is tall, I say tall means 6 feet. Now, if any person measured 6 feet will be considered as a tall. Otherwise, is not at all tall. And that's what is a classical set. But when it comes to the fuzzy set, it's not like that. Okay. Even a person with a 5.9 feet is also called as a tall, but not with 100% membership value, but a 90% membership value or 95% membership value. So that's what is called the partial truth. Because whenever we are dealing with some kind of uncertainty or vagueness in reality, we cannot always say that it's 100% fact or 100% false, right? There is in between, right? For example, if you get a rain, right? We have received a rain, but what is the degree of rain we have received in terms of centimeters or in terms of something like that, okay? So a partial truth can be measured, and that is the difference between a classical set and a fuzzy set. So in a classical set, we have the belongingness, which is either 0 or 1, means the membership value for an element belongingness is either 0 or 1. But in case of a fuzzy, it is not that, it is between 0 and 1. It can be 0 means not belongs to, 0.1 just belongingness, right? 0.2, 0.3, 0.4 up to 1. The maximum value is 1, so it's an infinite, right? So that's what is the difference between a fuzzy set and a classical set. So that nature of fuzzy set has opened up a lot of new ideas and creativity, and that has been explored for many applications, right? For example, a fuzzy washing machine, fuzzy cooker, fuzzy iron box, a fuzzy oven, right? Fuzzy concepts in automated systems or self-driving cars. So many such wonderful applications we can think of in society today, right? Yes, madam. Hope your question has been answered.
So, hopefully, sir, yes, replied. The doubt has been cleared. So we'll take one more last question from Devika G.
Okay.
Is there any criteria to decide on fuzzy set and features? Any criteria to decide on fuzzy set and feature?
Okay. Definitely, what type of feature we are going to extract from an image, right? Whether it's a text, texture features, or a shape features, or a color features. So depending upon what type of features we are extracting from an image, right? So we can decide an appropriate fuzzy sets. And again, the fuzzy sets are related to the linguistic variables, right? Linguistic variable. Say, as I already mentioned in the previous example, like a dark, right, a gray, and a bright. So they're the linguistic variables, right? If at all I want to capture the features from an image in terms of the texture quality or intensity. So then definitely I can create such a fuzzy sets. That's just an example, but depending upon the application, you can always decide what is the appropriate fuzzy set and what is the appropriate membership function, because membership function plays a very important role in a fuzzy set, right? So appropriate fuzzy sets, appropriate membership functions, and with this, now any input data or source can be converted, can be transformed into another domain, where in that domain we can deal with uncertainty, right, vagueness or imprecision, and that's how we can capture such information during processing, and finally we can come out with a better and a more efficient output for any of the applications we are going to design.
Thank you, sir. Hope madam is clear with his question. So we have a few more questions. With your permission, can we share your mail ID so that, because we are not possible?
Definitely. Actually, I just wanted to say one thing, and because of time constraint, I could not give more details on the points what I have already discussed with it. Okay, because the title is very generic, right? Fuzzy techniques in computer vision. A lot of things need to be understood and analyzed and studied. Okay, so I tried to some extent, but of course, if there was a time, we could have gone into the depth with much more details and examples, so that the audience could get more clarity. But however, those audience who have already studied the computer vision or image processing or fuzzy concepts little bit, if not in depth, so definitely they could understand. But for those participants who have not studied the fuzzy logic, right? So I'm sure that you can study any book related to fuzzy logic for beginners, and I think you can understand some of the very basic concepts, and hope with that concept, I'm sure you can even understand the advanced concepts also and relate with the computer vision and pattern recognition applications, right? In case if you have any doubts or any clarifications in any of the topics related to fuzzy logic and theory, right, you please feel free to send mail to my mail ID, or even you can call me, right? I try my level best to share my little knowledge with you on the topics, because even I have to study a lot of things in a computer vision field, pattern recognition field, image processing, as well as the fuzzy logic field. So we know a little bit based on our experience and based on the work we have carried out so far. But there are a lot of other things which we have to learn. But definitely, I wholeheartedly accept your feedback and your questions, so that I can also learn along with you, right? If I already know that, I think I can easily answer your question. Otherwise, we can together learn and understand better. Sure.
Thank you, sir. With your permission, so we'll be sharing the mail IDs of
Please, you can share the mail ID as well as the phone number as well.
Okay, so because we have two more questions, so and many more have asked me to share your slides as well as mail IDs.
Definitely.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your precious time and sharing knowledge with us. It was very informative, so thank you very much.
Okay, so with this, I would like to thank the organizing team, right? The Computer Science Department of AJ College of Engineering, and particularly Dr. Rupa and Dr. Harish for their efforts in organizing this FTP program, and also for having given me this opportunity to share my little knowledge and experience with you all participants. Okay, so once again, thank you very much. I don't know to what extent I have covered or done justice to the topic, but of course, because of time constraints, I was quite fast, right? So please feel free to share your questions with my mail ID and also the feedback. I'm sure I can attend any of your questions. So with these words, and I once again thank the organizers and all the participants for your active participation and interaction. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have our next session at 2:30 by Professor V.N. Manjunath Aradhya. The link will be shared by 2 o'clock for you, all the participants. The new link will be shared. Please get connected through that new link. I thank HSN sir again for giving us the deeper knowledge on fuzzy techniques. Thank you, sir. All the participants, we all will meet again at 2:30 sharp.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, sir.